Football the buzz in Bowling Green, Kentucky. Possibly a record-setting crowd as the SEC for the first time ever visits the Hill. Vanderbilt in Western Kentucky. John Sadak, the College Football Hall of Famer. Randy Cross, the SEC at Conference USA.
It's a crazy thing. I tell you, last year when Western Kentucky started their season by beating Vandy down in Nashville 14-12, they stopped them with about 33 seconds to go on a two-point conversion. This town went crazy. Maybe a little crazier for this one coming in with the SEC coming in here. It's going to be one of those games I expect to be just as close, maybe a little bit more scoring.
We'll see if the scoring might come in the air for Western Kentucky, which has a vaunted air attack and two of the best receivers in America. The only duo where each man has 2,000 yards, Taywan Taylor and Nicholas Norris.
Well, this duo has got to have a big game because they cannot run the ball that good. I don't anticipate them running the ball that well against Vanderbilt's defense, what I think is very, very stout against the run. Good contrast. Taylor, more of a possession receiver. Norris, the smaller, quicker guy. He blew up last week against Miami, Ohio.
They have the explosive playmakers in the air, but Vanderbilt gets it done on the ground. Ralph Webb, who leads the SEC in rushing.
Wow. Just think of that again, folks. After 3 weeks, Ralph Webb of Vandy, not Leonard Fournette, is the #1 rusher in the SEC. Powerful line that moves around very well, and Webb is a perfect combination of speed and lower body power.
We'll see what power comes from the crowd today as we check in with the third member of our crew, Taylor Rooks.
John, that's right. It is hot, loud, and packed down here as the fans are expected to break the stadium attendance record, and for good reason. As you said, it's the first time an SEC team is coming into Houchins, and it's really local fans that are going to do it for you guys. The local fans are coming out in droves. Western Kentucky sent 2,000 tickets to the Commodores. They only sold 430 of those. The campuses are only 66 miles apart, but it's Western Kentucky that's getting it done, guys.
Well, thank you, Taylor. It will have a big-time atmosphere. The weather brought to you by Allegra. 90 degrees by air temp. It'll feel like the mid-90s, a steamy and humid afternoon, and perhaps a few degrees warmer with a flush crowd anticipated. Vanderbilt won the toss and defer. The opening kick to Kylan Towner, the outstanding return man, neutralized. The third best kick returner in America has to take a knee. Time now for the Chick-fil-A starting lineups.
There's your guy.
I miss you, Cal. At quarterback is Mike White. He has been Mr. Big Play. The USF transfer tied for 4th in America, 13 plays of 25-plus yards. He's 5th in yards per attempt.
Oh, remember, Brandon Dowdy was the all-everything throw for a gazillion yards quarterback here at Western Kentucky for the last few years, and even then they only managed 2 touchdowns last year against this Vandy defense.
Trying to stretch it out of the first play. Submarine hit at an 8-yard run as we meet the rest of the starters offensively for Western Kentucky. And Taywan Taylor, a big-time weapon at wide receiver.
Yeah, he really is, and he's going to have to be because Norris kind of blew his cover last week. Big game last week. It's Taylor's turn to be effective, not only short range, but also down the field.
Second down, quick hitter. They get the first down. The twirl out of play is Trey Herndon that escorts him out of bounds. Let's meet the starters for the Vanderbilt Commodores.
And right away there, about the second, third play, Oren Burks and company, the linebackers will see a lot of those. They're referred to as RPOs, run-pass option. Might look like a run to start with, but it's the quarterback's job to pull it out and throw it to the outside if you see a big pad like you have in the bottom of the screen.
From the 36 to the air again. Double coverage, a dangerous toss disrupted. Looking for Nicholas Norris. Torian Ferguson was there as part of the duo to disrupt it.
Now, it might have kind of predetermined that throw right there, White did, because I think Taylor on the outside not only had a nice pad, he looked like he was going to be open on that play, pretty wide open, unlike Norris, who had 2 guys on him.
Anthony Wales is in the backfield. He had a hamstring issue. It's questionable if we would see him today. Screen game to Taywan Taylor, who's knocked down at the 38 by Torrin McGaster. How does that change things for Western Kentucky with Wales in the fray?
Well, with a bad hamstring, and he practiced some this week, he won't be fully effective, no matter what. He's going to be slowed, and you won't see him play extensively. He just can't. You don't want to risk the fact that he really pops that thing, and then he's not going to be around for a month, month and a half.
3rd down and 6. 3rd down called paramount by both teams this week. White backside pressure gets it off, and they get the first. And the tackle not complete. More yards and a chip out of bounds in Vandy territory. Nicholas Norris with a big grab.
Hey, so far you see the contrast here between the two receivers. Taylor, a lot bigger guy. Norris, that's what makes him dangerous. He can just scoot once he catches that ball.
The ball spotted midfield. Another screen look to Taylor. Their receivers can block and make men miss, slipping through would-be hitters. Torian Fergus and Ryan White combined to knock him down as he gets the first.
Well, the whole premise of these little mini screens you throw out, it's all based on the receiver making the first guy miss. It's one-on-one, make a miss, big play.
Incomplete pass. Seeing some tempo here from Western Kentucky. Is that part of what we'll see on the day?
I believe they're going to have to. You mentioned Wells' hamstring injury. They really are limited, I think, how they're going to be able to go at him running back wise, because they have to have faith that you can pick up a blitz, because this is a defense. You know, Coach Mason loves to blitz. This is head coach on head coach here. Brom's calling the plays, Mason's calling the defenses.
Taylor finds the seam again inside of Torrin McGaster, the leaping grab, and another piercing first down nearly to the red zone.
And there again, John, that's what I talked about initially in this game. Taylor is that tough yard receiver. Big guy. He can use his body to shield the defender. Nice, accurate throw. Let's watch both these quarterbacks today. The more accurate quarterback, that's obvious, is going to give him the best chance.
Taylor, the receiver in the backfield, play fake. White has the ball batted in the air. Incomplete. Vanderbilt getting right up on Mike White. It is a bit of a patchwork offensive line. They're down Forrest Lamp, who profiles as an NFL prospect at left tackle.
Yeah, you're probably a guard in the NFL. And this is a defense that would be better served sort of blitzing on its way to the quarterback. And if it happens to be a run, stop the run. But even against the RPO type look, that run pass option look, you get your hands up, you got a chance to really make something happen.
Split backfield. White lobs it, knocked in the air, incomplete. Nephi Lialo, the junior, at 6'5", 312 pounds, with visions of rumbling for a few himself.
Well, that was a good example of getting your hands up and making things happen. Perfect job there, getting those hands up. Took a nice little late shot, too.
Mike White showed to be a little gun shy after he got rocked in the Alabama setback.
Well, he was hyperventilating a bit before he got hurt.
3rd down and 10. Over the middle. They keep finding these soft little spots. This will be very close to the marker. It looks about a half-yard shy.
Now this is coaching. This is Jeff Brom and his brother Brian and this coaching staff on offense. Find the umpire. See the official right there? You can use them almost as a screen for anybody coming the other direction, right over the ball.
The 12th man employed. And now it's 4th down and 1.
Yeah, not surprising here. You won't see them kick a field goal, I think, until they get well inside the 15 to 10-yard line. Not much range.
Stretch it out, and they get the first. They go to the wide receiver stretch for Nicholas Norris. Shoulder pad popping out, 1st and goal.
Wow, that's a case of just better scheme, better game plan. Nice call by Jeff Brom and company. They get one-on-one on the outside. You give Norris that much room. They're lucky that wasn't a touchdown.
Western Kentucky, the first 4th down conversion in 4 tries on the year for the Hilltoppers. Now the fresh set of downs. Off the play fake, intended for Taylor, tipped incomplete.
I'd get that just in case.
Picked up.
That was Vanderbilt on the lateral.
Western Kentucky mostly standing around, and the Vanderbilt Commodores to the other end. Touchdown, Vandy.
Yeah, they almost had that about 4 or 5 plays ago. That one, there was a question. If there's a question, you got to get on that ball. Now that'll be reviewed. Now where is he when he throws the ball? When he goes back here, stop it when he gets to throw. As soon as he starts throwing, stop the tape. Here we go. See, he's on the 10 or 11 yard line. No, that wasn't backwards. That was forwards.
And that was Oren Burks, who was at that hybrid star linebacker secondary position.
Yeah, this will be overturned. He was definitely behind the 10 yard line when he threw that ball. And that ball was actually touched right at or in front of where he threw the ball. See again, check it out. See where he is. See, now he's right there. He's on the 9, and that ball is tipped, I think, right in front of the 9 yard line. Now, if it's lateral, ball's live. But if it's judged upstairs by the replay that ball, he was moving backwards as he threw it. If it had a forward aspect to it all, it doesn't count where it was knocked to on the tip pass. It was tipped by the defender.
Well, if there's any part of America that would be acutely tuned in to lateral situations like this, it would be the greater Nashville metro. Vanderbilt from Nashville. We're only about a 60-mile drive away here in Bowling Green, Kentucky. Not quite the Music City Musical, but miracle rather. But certainly a play that would have significant impact. Western Kentucky's turned the ball over 5 times in its last couple of games.
Music City Musical stars Carrie Underwood.
Yes.
Had nothing to do with that game.
She might have been there. And this Vandy team has been solid in terms of turnover numbers. Entered first in the SEC at +3, one of the few highlights on what's been a difficult beginning to the campaign with a 1-2 start.
Remember, it's ruled a backward pass. So there has to be something clearly on the replay they look at upstairs and they say, okay, that was not a backwards pass. Now if you get here and you stop it when he gets the ball out of his hand. A little further. Now. Okay, right now you're on the 9 yard line. Run it. See, the ball is tipped right there, and I think he's in front of the 9. You know, I don't think there's anything clearly, absolute clearly that says, man, that was clearly a forward pass. If anything, it was at the line of scrimmage.
After review, the ruling on the field is reversed. The pass was forward and then batted down as an incomplete pass. Please reset the game clock to 11 minutes and 11 seconds. It will be 2nd down and goal on the 4 yard line.
Yeah, again, he lets go of the ball. It comes out of his hand on the 9 yard line. And it's actually hit just in front of the 9 yard line. That's a judgment call. Obviously, that's what was judged upstairs. I think that's extremely close. Big break here for the Hilltoppers.
So in front of the home faithful that came out in droves for the Red Out. Some pain and pleasure on each respective sideline as a Vanderbilt touchdown overturned, and instead it's down and goal again for Western Kentucky, make it 2nd and goal from the 4. On the ground, the shoulder ball into the end zone, touchdown.
Oh, a nice job by Anthony Wells right over the top of Darrell Williams and Brandon Ray on that left side. That was more power than anything else. Nice blocking up there by the front against a pretty tough and physical Vanderbilt defense.
Anthony Wells, who was questionable, the 4-yard touchdown plunge. Bit of a high snap. Flag is out with pronounced movement. The kick good.
Vandy was definitely in the neutral zone when that ball was snapped.
Offside, defense, number 99. That penalty is declined. PAT is good.
For Western Kentucky, from the despair of a touchdown given up to the Vandy defense to the exultation of a push into the end zone. 7-0. Western Kentucky a 7-0 advantage. First possession nets a score, but protesters here with fists raised during the course of the national anthem. A phenomenon across America. We saw it on CBS Sports Network last night in the Eastern Michigan game when the protest took to the field at the game's conclusion, and a heightened sense of social awareness abound.
God bless America. Not too many places you can do that unchallenged.
Western Kentucky was challenged. It in fact was a replay review that overturned a Vanderbilt defensive touchdown, gave possession back to the Hilltoppers. Sims out of his end zone. And out of bounds just beyond the 25 as we go downstairs to Taylor Rooks.
Hey, the Western Kentucky coaches were not happy about that recalled Vanderbilt TD. They said, guys, I do not care if it's touchdown or not. You go and you get those guys. They were not happy with the lack of the effort down here.
Yeah, good call, Taylor. A lot of those players just basically were spectators on that play. And that's something you can't leave it up to replay. It's a great point, not only by Taylor, but also by the coaches getting on their offensive players about getting on their horse and finishing that play off regardless.
Kyle Shermer trots Vanderbilt out of the field, a 7-0 deficit early.
Well, they're used to it. Last week, first play of the game, Georgia Tech scored a touchdown.
Head coach Derek Mason said he was out-schemed as they read Georgia Tech tendencies a tad too much. Shermer leaves his receiver, C.J. Duncan, a little prone. He gets rocked by T.J. McCollum. As we invite our friend the Cow back, Chick-fil-A starting lineups.
When's he graduate anyway?
He is in his 9th year.
Okay,
yeah.
I thought so.
So long-term degree. Kyle Shermer is just a sophomore. Last year as a true freshman, led Vanderbilt to SEC victories against Mizzou and Kentucky. That was in a span of 5 starts as a true freshman. Completed a career-best 17 passes last time out. But here it's the handoff to Darius Sims, who's dragged down for a loss of yardage. Here's the rest of the offense.
Yeah, but Kalijah Lipscomb last week had a big game. His career high in catches, and they're going to need that kind of game out of him. And somehow they got to find a way to the middle of the field to open up. First pass, no coincidence, was in the middle of the field. That's been denied to them all year, and that usually means tight ends.
Lipscomb, the only Commodore to catch a touchdown through 3 games. Here in game 4, it's 3rd down. Shermer, a grazed ball, incomplete. T.J. McCollum again gets a hand up there. Here's the rest of the Vandy defense. Joel Iyiegbuniwe, the best rusher in this defense, according to coordinator Nick Holt.
Yeah, McCallum will look at that tape with Coach Holt and company and really wish he'd have caught that ball. That ball was right there where he should have gotten both hands on it and caught it.
Sam Loy on to punt. Macarius Fant, the return man, averages over 10 per punt return. No pressure from Western Kentucky. No chance at a return for Fant as it's caught on the sidelines instead. A timeout of the field, 7-0. The Western Kentucky advantage, the second possession for the Hilltoppers when we come back. Big Red immortalized on the giant water tower, 7-0. The Hilltoppers have the lead on visiting Vandy as we take a look at today's icy hot injury report. A trio of Hilltoppers were listed. Anthony Wales is playing.
Yeah, the other two, Lamp and Furby, definitely out. Lamp's on the sideline in a jersey and street pants. Let's see what kind of a running scheme they can come up with besides reverses and speeds.
Well, maybe a little bit of a double reverse here. And a pass option. Instead, the takeoff for Fant, who's knocked down, corralled by Jonathan Wynn, the defensive lineman. They love to change direction and to employ trick plays.
Well, you got to love the ball movement. Very good security as many times as they're throwing that thing around. Pass isn't there, go ahead and run it. Vanderbilt is a very, very reactionary defense. That's why people love those misdirections.
Wales stretching it out. Big block, turns the edge, runs through an arm tackle and spins through another hit. Gets beyond midfield in the first down. Torian Ferguson part of the contact, but a number of names in pursuit.
Yeah, great job happening on the outside. You get that one block, you get the defender on the ground. You know, that was Zach Cunningham, the preseason All-SEC linebacker that almost got him down with that about three-finger tackle, but he ran right through that.
They stack in the slot, including a tight end, Stevie Donatel. Toss it back on the flicker. Off his back foot. Find the tight end. And a head of steam for another first down. A flag is out. A second flag follows.
Yeah, got a question. As long as that took to set up, were there linemen downfield?
Brad Rogers is our referee today.
An eligible man downfield, number 70 of the offense. 5-yard penalty, repeat first down.
Goes on the center, Max Halpin, originally a walk-on, who has become a mainstay, a linchpin in the middle.
There's Halpin right in the middle, the center. He'll squeeze out of there. There he comes. Downfield ball now. Yeah, he's right there. He's downfield.
Western Kentucky going two tight ends here, Shaquille Johnson and Stevie Donatel on the right side. Back to the tight end game and to midfield. Torian Ferguson takes out Donatel, the graduate transfer out of Wake Forest. There's been a heritage and a legacy at the tight end position here that hadn't been quite up to par entering today.
Not even close. You know, it's really been a limiting thing for Jeff Brom play calling wise, and I think right now you've seen him early on kind of forcing it, and it's paid off so far. Good blockers, not much receivers.
Second down, some movement. Flag is out. In the past, they've had Jack Doyle, now with the Colts. Tyler Higbee, now with the Rams.
Ball start, offense, number 18, 5-yard penalty, second down.
That goes on one of those tight ends, Shaquille Johnson, who has some big-time speed. He made a big splash with a trick play, the 35-yarder on a flea flicker in the opening route against Rice.
Yeah, those pre-snap penalties will set most coaches off, but you get a guy like Jeff Brom, who's a former quarterback at the high school, college, and professional levels and has been a coordinator for a while, he'll go crazy.
White to the edge, tries to tuck, and gets swung down by Oren Burks. So penalties have impaired this Western Kentucky possession dramatically. Do you have a play call for 3rd down and 17?
There is never a play call on those big sheets you see coaches with. Not so much a late hit, but a pretty good swing down out of bounds. That was so far outside that white boundary line, I'm surprised they didn't at least throw the first flag on that.
A 4-wide look, trying to lead his tight end Donatel, did so a tad too much. The ball whizzed past his extended fingertips just beyond the marker. Had they been on time, that would have been a 1st down, but the punt unit is out.
And that's been the problem with both these quarterbacks and these offenses. The tight end receptions have been just sort of off. You know, whether it was against Alabama, for Vanderbilt, or the last couple of weeks with Western Kentucky. It's just been the timing hasn't been quite right.
Jake Collins, the rugby-style kicker. Lipscomb. The crowd roars about the block. Lipscomb doesn't net much from his wide berth around the field. Well, Vandy pinned relatively deep, a 7-0 lead for the host Hilltoppers. The SEC invading Conference USA.
College football on CBS Sports Network is sponsored by Geico. 15 minutes could save you 15% or more on car insurance. By Dr. Pepper. It's a college football tradition. And by Ram Trucks, America's longest lasting pickups.
Some of the greats to wear the uni for Western Kentucky. Bobby Rainey, now with the New York Giants. Antonio Andrews, a record setter in his days in the all-time FBS ranks for all-purpose yards. The man who gave the salute, the son of an Army man. The Commodores of Vanderbilt employ some misdirection. 1st down run. Ralph Webb has some room. Runs through a first tackler. And it's a second hitter that shoves him out of bounds. Let's take a look at today's what to watch for. What say you, Randy?
Vandy, just what you saw. Run, Ralph, run. Tough runner. He'll run right through arm tackles. Western Kentucky got to bring that hilltop blitz. Got to bring the blitz hard and go after not only Ralph, but also after the quarterback. And this is one of the better running backs in the country on 1st down. Averages 7-1 coming into the game.
2nd down and 1 as a result of his latest 1st down exploits. But a bit of a bad read here on the screen game as Lipscomb's block collapsed. And E.A. Buniwe overpowered.
You know, as a former lineman, obviously I didn't do a lot of that, catching balls and going. But the sarcastic lineman in me watches a play like that and goes, hey, way to go. You ran to the first tackler. You know, that's that you'll hear tomorrow in the film study.
Cheeky to the end.
After the play, unsportsmanlike conduct, number 23 of the defense. It's a 15-yard penalty, an automatic 1st down. That's number 23's first unsportsmanlike conduct of the game.
It goes on DeAndre Simmons. He made the rounds on the national highlight shows with that big juggling interception against Rice to begin the year. And remember the new rule, if another unsportsmanlike comes, then Simmons would be ejected from the game.
Call that the U rule, going back to the University of Miami back in the day.
So instead of 3rd and 1, it's 1st and 10. A lot of motion you'll see from Vanderbilt. Play fake. This is what they like to do. But Western Kentucky brings the pain. Shermer gets rocked.
Yeah, that's exactly what I was talking about. You're worried about the run? Yeah, you're worried about the run. But blitz this team on the way to stopping the run. He doesn't hand the ball off, finish off the quarterback. Perfectly clean hit, nice pressure. That's how you do it.
And Vandy, while it's had the accomplishments running-wise from Webb, is had trouble in the air. 125th out of 128 teams after last week. 125 yards a game. Motion from Jared Pinkney. Hilltoppers bring the blitz. Shermer again down. Dead to rights at the 29 as a double team. Hit him on either side, including Drell Green getting the start at safety for the banged up Marcus Ward.
Yeah, if they look like they might be onto your linebackers, why not bring a safety? Safety heat comes from the offense's right side. See him sneaking up there. Bam, clean through, nobody on him. Smart move by Shermer. If you don't have the scoots to reverse field and get the heck out of there, you're better off going down. Save yourself the wear and tear.
Derek Mason said about third down in practice this week, they ramped it up as heavy as they could go. He was on the microphone calling them the money downs. On third and long, Shermer flush. Throws on the edge, picked off! The zigzag return and a swing out of play. Laverick Johnson, the long-haired safety, takes it away, and Western Kentucky has it in Vandy territory.
That's an excellent job by Laverick Johnson, sort of teasing and using the old fishing term. You got the lure out there. Once the ball comes, you jump underneath that route. Shermer's throwing against his body, and that's an interception. Great timing by the defense.
7-0 Western Kentucky. Back to offense for the Hilltoppers. 7-0 Western Kentucky. That a shot of Zach Cunningham, the all-SEC linebacker and the subject of our Vistaprint player profile. Team's leader in tackles and tackles for loss. Cunningham called upon here as Western Kentucky begins a drive at Vandy territory. Quentin Baker, the freshman, the push, and the ball's free. Vandy falls upon it. Torrin McGaster picks up the free football at the 43-yard line.
And it is going the other way. Nice play by Vanderbilt. Zach Cunningham in on that play. Jakari Thomas, inside linebacker, also getting a little piece. But right there, you saw Arnold Tarpley get in and put his head on the ball and rip it out.
The play is under review.
We'll take another look. Arnold Lee Tarpley III appeared to have the heaviest force there. That giant, massive bodies, he just ripped it free.
I don't think the knee ever got down. He was getting close to down, but I don't believe he ever made it to the ground. Let's take another look. No, that ball's ripping out. I think Tarpley just robbed him.
After review, the ruling on the field is confirmed of a fumble. It's first down.
If Tarpley hadn't have been underneath Baker, Baker would have made it to the ground, but Tarpley prevented him from being down and ripped the ball out.
So Vanderbilt entered +3 in turnovers. They get it done, and the offense trots back out onto the field.
Good momentum shifter here for Vanderbilt. You had the interception, you get the ball right back.
Western Kentucky dominating in terms of plays, definitively yards, and time.
Do you take a shot? I think you do.
It's Webb. He can make some moves in space as a shifty nature. TJ McCollum corrals him around the marker. It looks to be good for the first.
Boy, is this guy money on first down or what? Why would you not run him until they just stop you? That first down run, he had 9 yards. Right there, he gets 11.
The ball spotted just short.
Thought he made it to the 45.
Here's some of the motion. Haley McElwain at fullback. Webb following that bold path has the first down, pinballing off of Keith Brown, the Louisville transfer at linebacker.
And if you'll think back to Joe Gibbs and the Washington Redskins, that was an offense that had used the tight ends a lot of H-back, a lot of motion, a lot of tight ends up and back on the line of scrimmage, motioning across. You'll see a lot of that out of Vanderbilt. It's really kind of a window dressing for the run. They want you to make an adjustment where they get the numbers on one side and Ralph Webb can gash you and make you pay for it.
He's got 3 carries for 21 yards thus far. Shermer puts it back in his belly. Western Kentucky knows who to find. Red jerseys galore surrounding Webb. A flag is out. He's down around the 48.
That one won't help his average. A 9, a 9.5, and a -4.
Our officials want to huddle up here. The flag came down just as the Hilltoppers surrounded Webb.
Holding, offense, number 80. That penalty is declined. It will be second down.
Goes on the redshirt freshman tight end Jared Pinkney, whose greatest strength this year was just that. He gained 30 pounds since an injury that cost him all of last season, but it was supposed to be more of a leverage tight end.
Well, when you see the back having to bounce, there's 80 right in the middle of the screen, having a very good grasp of his technique, also known as holding.
It's about the best grasp you can have, right?
Yeah, well, if you're a lineman, it is.
Shermer harassed, and he's down again. The sacks piling up. It's Keith Brown that invades the pocket.
Well, if you get an empty backfield, if you're basically Ralphless, if Ralph Webb is gone, as it was in that case, and you're a linebacker, why not blitz? There's nobody to pick you up. Everyone else is occupied inside. That was a nice job by Brown of reading a lack of blocking, seeing that he's got everybody manned up and just taking a free shot at the quarterback, Shermer.
And it puts Derek Mason's team in a tough spot. 3rd down and 22.
More heat with zone behind it.
They bring 3. Down to his knees to bring it in. And they get a few yards with it, but not a ton. Sam Dobbs, his 3rd catch, the tight end. So Sam Loy in the punt unit out.
Don't discount these Hilltoppers when it comes to returns. They know how to gash special teams. They can get people going in the wrong direction. Tony Levine, their new new special teams coordinator, is doing a really good job.
Former head coach at Houston, Akarius Fant, has been outstanding this year. Tries to make a play. It has nothing. The coverage there. He'll lose a little more than a yard. Sunday, the NFL on CBS rolls on with doubleheader action. First, the Broncos battle the Bengals, while the Raiders take on the Titans. Then the Steelers tough it out with the Eagles. Check local listings, beginning with JV, Boomer, Tony, Coach, and Bart on the NFL Today, presented by Southwest Airlines. Eddie George, a 4-time Pro Bowler with the Titans, the father of Jair George, a freshman running back for Vanderbilt. Eddie won the Heisman Trophy in 1995 with Ohio State, 14th overall pick in the draft, and a College Football Hall of Fame inductee. First down run for a few.
Hey, you talk about Eddie George. You know, Jair, his son, a redshirt freshman, so 2nd year. Eddie George was like 3rd string his sophomore year. Wasn't until his last 2 years at Ohio State he really busted out and got that Heisman Trophy his senior year. But there's still hope. History would tell you George studies well.
We'll see what kind of improvement he can make in his career and what Vandy is able to enterprise as well. The Hilltoppers with the only score of the opening quarter, a rematch of last year's season opener, and the host Hilltoppers up 7-0 through 1. Saturated stands, a 7-0 Western Kentucky advantage as we embark upon the 2nd quarter. And today, a unique matchup. Jeff Brom, not only the head coach, he calls the plays, while Derek Mason does the same as head coach and defensive coordinator. Mason and San Diego State's Rocky Long, the only head coach DC combos in the FBS.
And Jeff Brom, a coach that plays from the front really, really well. I mean, this is a team that if they get ahead of you, they can stay ahead of you. They're 15-1 under Brom when they score first.
Play fake, White to the edge. One-on-one matchup, and they have won those battles so frequently today. There's another first down with Torian Ferguson in coverage.
Don't you kind of feel the contrast between these teams, though? I mean, Western Kentucky will spread you out. They're flipping the ball around a little bit. Vanderbilt very much more of a ground-based offense that would rather not drop back and throw that many times.
And that said, Vanderbilt has applied some pressure. Turnover game has been part of it. Wales trying to tough it out with a bad hamstring, gets 5. Landon Stokes disrupts him there. And Wales might have come back too soon. He had the hamstring issue in game number 1 of the campaign against Rice. Then they're playing an SEC foe, number 1 Alabama. And he wants to give it the good college try and realizes early that it's not quite happening. Might have set him back some. Showing no ill effects here. Right into Arnold Tarpley and runs him over for the first down.
Yeah, that's called being the hitee and not the hitter by Tarpley. Most safeties fill up in that situation and they deliver the blow. There's Ralph delivering. I mean, there's the running back delivering the blow. How come when I just hear Wells, I think Outlaw Josie?
I could see that.
Yeah.
I could hear the music now, the tumbleweeds rolling down the field. Vandy showing pressure. Fant in a 1-on-3 somehow still earns an extra 5. He chipped off Ryan White. And it was the second contact from Jawan Williams that fells him at around the 47.
Well, that's why you see the value of these now passes. You get to the screen, you see a pad. Hey, you've got a guy like this, like Fant, that can make people miss. He's your kickoff, your punt returner. Why not let him use those skills?
From the pistol, off the fake. It feels like Western Kentucky is running downhill as Ryan White gets the last tackle.
Well, you know, a little bit of it is, you know, Jeff Brom. We talked about the contrast with the two head coaches calling the plays on both sides in this situation. Brom's got a real rhythm to it, the way he calls plays. You can tell he was a quarterback. You can tell he's used to up-tempo, sort of cut his teeth under Bobby Petrino. And if he's more comfortable at this pace.
Quick drop. Another quick hitter to Taywan Taylor. Wrestled out of bounds. Flag down. Another flag is out. We might have multiple infractions. There was a flag down around the 46, and the second flew out as the hard harm came on the sideline. White torn to the gaster with a vicious contact.
Well, where that first flag was thrown, that would look to be something in the lines of a grab or a face mask.
There are 2 fouls on the play. Ineligible man downfield on the offense. Player went down when the pass was thrown forward. That's a 5-yard penalty. After the play, personal foul, number 5 of the defense. That's a 15-yard penalty and an automatic first down.
So a 10-yard net.
I think the Hilltoppers will take that. You know, Derek Mason tried to ramp this up as a regional rivalry game, called it a backyard brawl, a border brawl. When we spoke with Jeff Brom about that, he was a little more dismissive about the rivalry nature.
Isn't that already West Virginia, Pittsburgh?
I think
the whole
so.
Backyard brawl thing?
I think they've got that one down.
Yeah, I thought so. Well, that's what happens when a Conference USA team comes into your house as an SEC team and beats you the year before. You're trying to create a little juice for this thing.
Unimpeded at the quarterback. The ball incomplete. The immediate signal toward the gaster, unabated, running into Mike White.
You notice the offensive players reacted a little bit differently when that catch wasn't made, too. I mean, you see the heat on the quarterback, yeah, but once that ball's on the ground, you've got guys running over there and jumping on it. That's a direct effect from that one play that Taylor talked to you about. The coaches were not happy about a no reaction from the offensive players.
And Jeff Brom said he challenged Mike White at the start of the season. He wanted to see what kind of toughness he could bring. Might be challenged some with some of these rocking hits. Steps up strong, but the ball batted down. The draping coverage from Trey Herndon, swatting it away from the Carius fans.
Reminds you again that this is not a team in Western Kentucky that's got a lot of faith in their field goal kickers. So if they don't get a first down here and it's reasonable distance, don't be surprised if they go for it on 4th down.
Now, the range is probably in the 40 area. This would be about 52.
And they need to get inside the first down marker to get to a 40-yard field goal.
Pocket collapsing. White feeling the pressure, tries to escape. White tucks and runs, and he's hit from behind, angling out of bounds just beyond the 30. Oren Burks in hot pursuit.
That's 4th and reasonable. You know, right there at about the 30 to 29-yard line. That leaves you just about 5 yards to go. Actually, it'll be right at 4 yards to go.
And they've gone for it on 4th down successfully today after misfiring on their first 3 attempts of the season entering this game.
And the way Wales has run the ball, why not? You get spread out like here, run a run pass option, fake it to Wales, see if the linebackers react. Not much pad from the corners.
Put it in the air. Nicholas Norris finds the seam and the slot, runs through a hitter. And he's down inside of the 5. The ball picked up by Vandy. Another ball put on the ground by Western Kentucky, and Trey Herndon scoops it up.
And put on the ground, John, in the worst possible position. Inside the 5-yard line after a big play. Norris puts that thing down, and Vanderbilt recovers and gets a nice little return.
Personal foul.
That ball is gone. Well, he never even goes down before that game. That ball is out. Review away. That ball came flying out of there. Stripped from behind.
Correction, number 75 of the offense with the targeting. The play is under review.
Yeah, that was clearly a fumble. That's clearly a return for Vanderbilt.
And now the question is, did Jimmy Sims commit targeting? As Sims is filling in as the starting right tackle, as the 6th best lineman with Forrest Lamp out.
Mm-hmm. That's going to suddenly put you down to your 4th tackle. There's the targeting right there, right at the top of your screen. That was Sims. He did earhole the safety right there. That's a good call by the official. I believe they're going to call that targeting. I guess usually, though, when a defender is hit like that by an offensive lineman, it's the guy that falls down.
The ruling on the field is confirmed of targeting. Number 75 has been disqualified.
That's a significant loss for Western Kentucky, filling in as the starting right tackle. We'll try to sort it out when we come back. 7-0 in this wacky back and forth affair. Hilltoppers have the lead. (7-0) Western Kentucky with the lead, but Vandy, largely outplayed, is in this one because Western Kentucky has fumbled twice.
Yeah, Norris very loose with the ball there. Ball recovered there by Trey Herndon. He comes back. Now here comes the penalty on Sims, top of the screen. So now keep an eye out. The Hilltoppers are down to their 3rd left tackle.
Commodores have been dealing with sack issues today. And no surprise, a first down run for Ralph Webb. Not quite as dominant a journey as he's enjoyed on most of the day to midfield, where he's punished by Keith Brown.
Kyle Shermer would be more than happy, I would think, and so would the Vanderbilt coaches, led by Coach Mason, if they had a very methodical, pounding type of a drive here and kept this defense off the field, because Western Kentucky is putting some serious yards on this Vandy defense.
That's what head coach Derek Mason and offensive coordinator Andy Ludwig told us this week. He said of their team, we need a drive. And this one driven into TJ McCollum. Another few yards for Ralph Webb. Not only for the momentum and confidence of the offense, but to aid a defense that can get gassed by the end of games.
Yeah, that really is the number one thing when you're an offense you think of when you're that kind of a methodical team. It really gives your defense a chance to stand on the sideline and kind of laugh. And you want to go anywhere from 10 to 12 plays. Not a bad start. One more run should be a first down.
We'll step aside. Nick Dawson-Brents getting looked at. A throng of students that studied abroad for Western Kentucky, but they're at home against Vanderbilt today, 7-0 Hilltoppers. Big third down coming up as Nick Dawson-Brents was helped off to the sidelines, the starting D-end. The average third down distance for Vanderbilt had been 3rd and 15, going 0 and 3 on third down. Here's 3rd down and 4, Randy, and this is a down called of great import.
This is a normal type of a formation, except there's 2 tight ends as part of the spread.
Shermer gets it out and completes for the first. Joel Iyebuniwe, the immediate tackle, but the wide receiver C.J. Duncan gets his 5th grab of the year for the first.
You're going to get a double slant. You get a slant here and then a slant here, and you go to the second slant right behind the first one and right into the hole in the defense. Good play call right there by Vandy.
They had Darius Sims, the wide receiver, in the backfield. They've motioned Webb back there. Couple of fakes. Shermer pursued, wisely throws it away. The contact came through anyway. Devontae Duclos harassing Shermer, who comes from a bit of a pedigree. His dad, Pat Shermer, now the tight end coach for the Minnesota Vikings, former head coach of the Cleveland Browns, and OC for the Rams and Eagles.
And for those of you of maybe a more mature vintage, you would remember his grandfather, Fritz Shermer, one of the great defensive coordinators of the old LA Rams in their last incarnation in Los Angeles.
Blitz comes. They have guessed and timed right so often with the pressure. It's again Keith Brown, the Louisville transfer, who's had a nose for tackles for loss today.
It has to be how they go about doing business against this Vanderbilt team, because you get those run blitzes like that. You're going to get a chance to bounce the running back. Worst case scenario, he's going to have to bounce it outside Will Webb. And number 2, you might get a clean run at Shermer, the quarterback, and they've had a few of those.
It's a late sub for Western Kentucky, which shows more pressure and brings it straight up the middle. Shermer tries to lead Webb a little too long. Iyebuniwe underneath in coverage.
Yep, Iyebuniwe did a very nice job working against the running back. And he pushed it about as far as you could legally push it, using his hands and everything. Did a real nice job of limiting the area that ball could be thrown in by Shermer. Had to be a deflection by Webb to even have a chance.
One punt inside the 20 early on, averaging 34.5 so far. Loy gets the tumbling end-over-end hang time, and Nakarius Fant forced a fair catch inside of his 10. Western Kentucky at its own 9 when we come back at home, leading Vandy out of the SEC. 7-0 Western Kentucky has the advantage on Vandy. Coming up, the halftime report powered by Ram Trucks. Brent Stover, Houston Nutt, Christian Fourier have scores and highlights from all around the country, first half analysis and more. As we take a look at the AP poll powered by Ram Trucks, and a score that many here on the Hill are interested in, the Michigan Wolverines facing Penn State, a gaudy 28-0 advantage.
How about that Louisville-Marshall game? We were at Marshall last week against Akron.
Sweep on the first play from the 9 with tremendous breathing room. A flag out after contact out of bounds.
Late hit again. Some of these hits and these throwdowns are happening actually outside that big white line, white stripe.
After the play, personal foul, number 20 from the defense, 15-yard penalty, automatic first down.
Oren Burks, a nominee for the American Football Coaches Association Good Works Team in the Werfel Trophy, which is basically an academic community service type of Heisman.
That wouldn't be an example of it, right? You wouldn't put that on the resume reel?
Probably not.
Okay,
no.
Just curious.
We do have a new quarterback in, though, not Mike White. Tyler Ferguson, who transferred in from both Louisville and Penn State. White, 11 of 19, 108 yards. On the sideline, off the play fake, Ferguson looking long. Macarius Fant with separation. And Fant streaks into the end zone. Touchdown, Hilltoppers.
Well, John, I was just going to say, man, is Vanderbilt lucky it's only 7-0 with everything that's going on. New quarterback, the dink and dunk stops. Take the big cash downtown with Fant, and it pays off.
The versatile Fant, clean sprint. Ferguson, who played most of the second half in the Alabama game.
Pretty clean pocket for Ferguson too, John.
Even with the change on the offensive line. Skylar Simcox for the point after. And he converts. First pass of the game is Ferguson's first touchdown since his days with Penn State in 2013.
Yeah, we've seen a lot of stuff underneath. We've seen a lot of slants. That's just get on your giddy up and go.
14-0 Hilltoppers. The big play has arrived.
Yeah, I mean, this is letting Fant use his ability to separate. And he separates right about there. Now keep it going, and you'll see the separation. Now stop it. There's the situation right there. He's got a good 3 yards. You're never going to catch him once he gets that separation. You get that DB to cross his hips up like that initially, he's got no shot.
It is worth noting, before Brandon Dowdy had firm reins at the quarterback role here, when Bobby Petrino had his one-and-done head coaching run, they employed 4 different quarterbacks. It wasn't a stable job, and it wasn't something that Dowdy automatically had.
No, but Dowdy was he was the 4th quarterback.
Right.
It wasn't until Braum got here and was able to sort of identify him while he was the head coach and identify his individual talents that was skilled to this offense.
Darius Sims from the lip of his end zone. Knocked down on the hip at about the 24. Tomorrow at 6 Eastern, the toughest sport on dirt takes the stage in Colorado Springs with the PBR Built for Tough Series Rumble in the Rockies, right here on CBS Sports Network, the 24-hour home of CBS Sports.
Does that include the dirt at the Raiders' home field?
A little bit.
That's dirt. That's infield.
Yeah.
Yeah. Tell you, I have so much respect for those guys in that PBR tour.
That is a...
Have you seen that live? You seen the size of those bulls?
No, I'm a little intimidated.
You would be.
Yeah.
It's impressive, put it that way.
It's also been impressive what Western Kentucky has done defensively. Vanderbilt, 19 plays, 17 yards, influenced heavily by some big-time sacks. Play fake. Shermer overshoots one-on-one to Trent Sherfield. So a 14-0 margin. Vanderbilt, you mentioned it, has been thoroughly outplayed in most phases. Turnovers have helped equalize on the heels of the huge play for Western Kentucky, at least for field position this drive.
No doubt. Those turnovers have they've really stopped Western Kentucky a lot more convincingly than Vanderbilt has. They've got to have a drive here. Doesn't have to necessarily even be points. It's early in the game, but stay on the field.
And the run just feels telegraphed. Shermer, 4 of 10 for 16 yards and a pick. So the big bodies like Omarius Bryant can key in on Ralph Webb and sell out and leave the one-on-ones. Now, you like, when you watch the tape of this Vanderbilt team, the potential for the play-action game.
Oh, the potential for play-action should be gigantic. The problem is, really, who are you going to throw it to? Last week it was Lipscomb. He had a good game. Tight ends haven't been what they were, and that's usually a huge part of your play-action game.
They've needed more than 12 yards on average on third down. Here on 3rd and 11. Shermer, the long look, and it converts. He finds C.J. Duncan. And they get the first down on 3rd and 11 to the Hilltopper 47-yard line. LaVerick Johnson with the stop.
Yeah, that is just what they needed at this point, is a nice stab down the field. Keep this in the run game going. You'll get close enough, or maybe you get a field goal, maybe you get a touchdown. But that defense is sitting on the bench under a fan, drinking cold water, just trying to recover, because Vanderbilt here is in the sun. They are baking in the sun. Western Kentucky doesn't have that problem on the other side.
After the 30-yard gain, play action, Shermer obliterated as he lobs it long for C.J. Duncan.
Now, leisurely holding the ball is not a privilege that Shermer's enjoyed much of. He basically hits that back foot, and he's got about a count and a half from the time that right foot hits the ground.
Offside.
See right there, foot's down.
38.
You got to get rid of it. If you don't, the Hilltoppers are coming.
An offside penalty, though, as the Hilltoppers came a tad too quickly.
Well, the defensive coordinator Holt for Western Kentucky, if he's going to err on the side of being aggressive. He is going to be an attacker, not the attackee.
Kari Blasingame is the deep back. First down and 5. And movement again. Amarius Bryant passed right through the left side.
Offside, defense, number 9. 5-yard penalty results in a first down.
In case you're curious, yes, those penalties count as part of your drive, and yes, it can count as effective because Vanderbilt is staying on the field. They're giving themselves a chance to get further down the field, to get in the red zone, to be more effective offensively, and to get some points on the board. A lot of it's going to have to happen, I think, though, John, is going to be in the middle of the field is where the plays will happen. They have so far, too, and you see the shade is on the Western Kentucky side.
A knifing run to the 35-yard line. T.J. McCollum the stick. So Blasingame, after giving Webb a blow, will jog off. Webb trots back on.
We've seen a lot of T.J. McCollum, that linebacker, inside against Webb.
Second and 9. Webb 8 carries for 22 early. Off the fake. In the face of pressure, Shermer slings it tall and long. Nathan Marcus closest to it.
Well, the play action is briefly effective. You can see the reaction for the defense, and you're watching that they're getting close to being open, but it's almost taking too long for Shermer from the fake to the foot in the ground to the ball out. By the time he gets the ball out, the defense has recovered from the fake.
3rd and 9. This is one of the more manageable third downs for Vandy on the day.
And 5.
Shermer facing the stunt. Steps up. Shermer has the first, and he gets hit as he slides down. T.J. McCollum gave a bit of a pop to the QB at the 24.
Yeah, McCollum's lucky that Shermer went down as fast as he did. He stays a little bit higher, and McCollum is going to drill him and probably draw a flag and be further down the field. As it is, he's clearly sliding and giving himself up. That was a hairline call right there for that not being a roughing penalty.
That brings the total to 12 yards thanks to all the sacks. Webb tries to earn back a few more, hesitated a bit, and then explodes through the chasm of space. Derek Overstreet chops him down at around the 18, gain of 6.
Yeah, since we mentioned how good Webb was on first downs, it's been some tough sledding in this defense so far. Question is, can Vanderbilt finish a drive? Can they use this success to augment now in the red zone to add to it? Field goal's okay. Touchdown, very much preferable here.
Kyle Shermer had a knee protector on. It was giving him some trouble. He just shrugged it off and threw it to the sideline before this play as Webb barrels just a yard short to the 15. It's humbled by Julian Lewis. So you said at the advent, Randy, that Vanderbilt was in need of a drive. It feels like that's arrived here.
Yeah, this is that drive. And you know what it also does besides giving your defense a blow? You notice what it's done to the clock. I mean, the clock has been eaten by this drive. And that's not a bad thing for Vanderbilt. Vanderbilt's not looking to beat you 45-40, just beat you.
Carly Blasingame is back in and running back, and he falls into the first down, tumbling backward to the 10. Amarius Bryant tripped him up, so it's first down and goal.
What a nice job by Bruno Reagan and Justin Scully on that right side. That was a lot of push. Inside, got a little help from Barrett Gouger, too.
There are the numbers red zone-wise. Perfect in the red zone this year. It includes 8 touchdowns.
Yeah, 8 touchdowns. It aggravates me that that's 100%, 10 for 10 if you didn't had to kick 2 field goals.
Put it on the ground. Blasingame dragged down by Ben Holt, the son of defensive coordinator Nick Holt and Brandon Leston.
Nick Holt, the defensive coordinator, grandson of Buster Crabbe, former USC Olympian back in like 32, 36. Starred in Tarzan movies and Flash Gordon and all that stuff originally.
And Nick Sr., the DC, had some time at USC. Called going into the Rose Bowl to face UCLA the highlight of his time with the Trojans.
It was just getting to play UCLA.
Says the former Bruin. On second down, the inside run. Darius Sims, and it's again Ben Holt. Denies him at about the 4. Possessions like this were pivotal in last year's matchup.
This is the custom-made situation on this third down for a play-action pass. This is it. You're going to get a feed. That defense is going to eat up any kind of fake. They have got to respect the run, especially from what you've done.
Last time these teams met, 3 separate trips inside of the 10. Vanderbilt threw 2 picks in the end zone and missed a 28-yard field goal. Lost the game by 2. They're 3 for 3 on third down this drive. And on third and goal from the 4, Webb finds the space on the edge, and he dances in for a touchdown.
How's that for a drive? You're on the road. You're here in Bowling Green, Kentucky, the first time an SEC team has ever come into this stadium. You're down 2 touchdowns. Things have not been good. You give it to your bell cow, to Webb. He goes around them all. Good blocking inside, but that was more about Ralph Webb and his acceleration, just outflanking that defense.
Tommy Openshaw for the point after. He's been perfect on 8 tries this year. Bit of a high snap. And the kick is true. So Vandy consumes 6 minutes of clock on a 12-play drive. And the plunge from Ralph Webb, his 3rd rushing touchdown of the year, caps it off.
And that right side does it again. Nice job pulling out a little bit by Bruno Reagan. The guard, he does a good job. But that's more about Ralph Webb and his ability to scoot. He powered most of these yards on this drive, but that was just scoots and speed on the outside. That'll make the conversation in the locker room a lot friendlier, I think, for Vanderbilt to get that touchdown. Now, can their defense in the 2-minute drill shut down Western Kentucky and give them a chance to get the ball back?
They've been able to turn them over as the coaches today are donning some special gear this weekend. The American Football Coaches Association's annual Coach to Cure MD initiative, an attempt to raise awareness for Duchenne muscular dystrophy, a genetic disorder in young men. 10,000 coaches are participating nationwide, including both Derek Mason and Jeff Brom here today. To learn more, go to www.coachtocuremd.org. Rallying for a great cause.
Tell you, rallying for a cause, great for the coaches. But in this situation, John, we're looking at right here, Western Kentucky can bring the ball back on a kickoff return. They've got the speed and the blocking.
Kylan Towner, 40 per return on the year, third in the country. And this one kicked out, flagged down. They nullify any chance of the dynamic return. And
why worry about a 35-yard return? Just kick it out of bounds and give them the ball on the 35. Wow.
Free kick out of bounds, number 17 of the kicking team. Ball will be placed at the 35-yard line, first down.
But 18 minutes, that's how long it's been since Western Kentucky ran a play. I mean, it's just on the normal clock. They've been on the sideline for a while.
By the way, for Openshaw, he entered with 3 kicks out of bounds and 11 kickoffs on the year. That's a fourth. Put it on the ground. To the 38. Tyler Ferguson, still a quarterback here, not Mike White.
You stuff this run in your Vandy, I think you definitely call a timeout here.
Pile upon Wales. Forward progress pushed back short of the 40. Zach Cunningham spearheaded the charge. So there's a look at the starting quarterback, Mike White. Helmet on, gear on, but Tyler Ferguson on the field.
Well, after that first play, I'd say it's a pretty good move. With that bomb down the field.
So Vandy elects to call timeout. 2 left for the Commodores. Your weekend starts here when the Miami Dolphins battle the Cincinnati Bengals. Thursday Night Football on NFL Network. Dolphins and Bengals familiar with one another. All-time series led by the Dolphins 15-5. The last time they met, a Thursday night, a rarity, an overtime game decided by a safety. Brandon Doughty trying to help those Dolphins get ready. He was drafted by Miami, currently on the practice squad. That game heads your way Thursday, 8 Eastern on NFL Network.
Yeah, but Andy Dalton has made this a different Bengals team. They've had a really nice little defense under Lewis, but you get that quarterback position sewed up and some stability there, and that's been a whole different team the last 3 or 4 years.
Offensive line, though, has had a little bit of trouble a couple of games early. Western Kentucky has had some trouble on third down, 1 for 4, needing an average of 11 per, and we get a flag. Looks like against the Hilltoppers.
Start offense, number 62, 5-yard penalty. Remains third down.
See, that goes back to that 18 minutes of sitting around. They've had that nice pace to them. The Vandy offense keeps the ball all that time. They get back on the field, little halting. Now you're talking 3rd and long. You stop them right here, you call another timeout. There's a minute and 25 seconds to go in this quarter, or in the half. Give your offense a chance to get it back on the field and have some more magic.
Motion from Norris. Pressure comes. The dump. What a one-handed grab. And some moves in space. It'll be short of the first. Zach Cunningham with the tackle.
Timeout. Vanderbilt.
Another timeout by Vanderbilt. How about this for a catch by Norris? Talk about little fingertip back to himself by Anthony Wales. Wow.
It's also worth noting, by the way, Forrest Lamp was out hurt at left tackle. Darrell Williams had slid from right to left tackle, but Jimmy Sims, who had filled in at right tackle, was ejected for targeting. On that last series, Williams went back to the right side, and Matt Nord was at left tackle. So with a backup quarterback and with a very patchwork offensive line.
So far, so good.
Yeah.
I mean, the last possession and this last one here together, not too much heat on the quarterback by Mason and Vanderbilt. But they stop him here, and they set up a situation this is custom made. Everybody on this line of scrimmage has got a hilltopper in front of them. Drive through them. Get your hands on them and hold them up. Try to get some kind of return here to give your offense some better field position.
On 4th and 2, Jake Collins, the rugby-style punter. Ryan White, the return man. Gets it off toward that side. White lets it plop down at the 22 and skips out of bounds.
Good field position.
Now Vandy had exhausted a couple of timeouts, so one left, 1:06 to go before halftime, a 14-7 deficit.
Well, you got a guy like Ralph Webb at running back. You're just one play away. And it could just be a very mundane running play, especially on first down. We've seen Webb earlier in this game pop some nice runs on first down, breaks a tackle. He could be going a good distance. Then your playbook opens wide open once you get past the 50.
They probably have to get to around the 32 to be in field goal range for Tommy Openshaw. As long as 49. It happened in this meeting last year. Bit of a low snap. Shermer zips it out, and an angle out of play for Webb, who gets a few and gets out of bounds. 1:01 on the clock.
Yeah, whether you throw it to him or hand it to him, you got to find a way to get the ball in Webb's hands in these situations.
Andy Ludwig has said that they need to become more versatile, going back to your comment earlier that while Kalijah Lipscomb has brought them quite a bit as a freshman receiver, he needs to see more variety from Shermer's connections. Second and 8. Comeback not there. Flag out immediately. The booze chorus down to the ball intended for Trent Sherfield.
I spy a little shirt tug at the end at the break on this right here.
Pass interference. Defense, number 7. Ball's placed at the spot of the foul.
Sherfield's got one of the great
First
mentors.
down.
He was a freshman when Jordan Matthews was a senior. They stay in contact all the time. Talk about a lot of things unfootball related, but you couldn't ask for a better guy who's in the league doing what he's doing. This is one of the great workers on this Commodore squad, Sherfield.
And Joe Brown flagged the converted running back. Under a minute. Creeping blitz comes. Shermer's pass complete. TJ McCollum immediately on the target in Sherfield.
They're going to give you all those little nibbles you want in this situation. It keeps the ball running. Now a sack.
Yet another sack for Western Kentucky. Joel Iyiegbuniwe, time fading under 30 seconds.
And if you can't get it past the 50, there's no sense in using this timeout.
Three sacks for Western Kentucky's defense. 10 seconds.
Yeah, this is just Vanderbilt on offense. They're going to be who they are. They're not a down-the-field offense. They're a run-the-ball offense. No threat down the field. Let the clock go and eliminate the risk of a mistake, John.
They will have the ball to begin the second. Vandy won the toss and deferred. Western Kentucky thoroughly outplayed Vanderbilt for most of this first half, but Vandy, the late drive for a score, and a one-score game at the break. The first ever meeting of SEC in Bowling Green, 14-7 for the host Hilltoppers at the break. So as we set for the second, Vanderbilt won the game's opening toss and deferred. The Commodores, who elected to keep a timeout in their back pocket and let time wilt away on their own side of the 50 at the conclusion of the first, have the ball to begin the second.
Yeah, for Vanderbilt, they need a good return here, and then they need deja vu. They need the exact same kind of drive they had at the end of the second quarter. Slow, methodical, taking it down the field, and keeping their defense on the bench.
And for more of the two respective head coaches, let's go downstairs to Taylor Rooks.
That's right. I talked to both coaches at halftime, and Coach Brom said, you know, we saw a quarterback switch when Ferguson went in for White. He said that was planned before the game. They wanted to give Ferguson a series. His first one was short, so they gave him another one. But he said their main goal that first half was to contain Webb, and they did a good job of that. He said that has to continue. And, you know, Coach Mason actually agrees with that. Said they have to give Webb the ball more because Western Kentucky is doing too good of a job containing him. Said the offense has to get into rhythm. But I can hear the coaches now saying, guys, let's close this one out. And that's their message.
Well, thank you, Taylor. Webb did not close out well in that first half. Only averaged about 3 yards a carry. And that number will go down, a loss of yardage, thanks to the vicious contact from Chris Johnson, the JUCO transfer out of Mississippi Gulf Coast.
Yeah, but for Vanderbilt to have their kind of a second half, excuse me, Webb had 12 carries in the first half. He needs 15 in the second half. At least 15 carries in this half. If he gets that, you're going to see Vanderbilt with a chance to win. If they have to throw it more, that's not their forte.
2nd and 11. Webb again swallowed up, only gets a couple. TJ McCollum swings him down around the 27. So it's another 3rd down and longer for Vanderbilt, which is average needing about double-digit yards on 3rd down, but was perfect on the touchdown drive.
And Nick Holt, the defensive coordinator for Western Kentucky, has done a nice job of mixing up 3-man rush with zone back and then just blitzing and giving Shermer no time to throw it.
Kyle Shermer has been sacked 3 times today.
They're showing 6 people up. Don't be surprised, John, if they only rush 3.
And that's exactly what they do, and Shermer steps into the throw, caught by the twisting Trent Sherfield, who kept his footing and gets out of bounds. That's good for the 1st down. Brandon Leston with the ultimate hit.
And I mentioned Jordan Matthews and the relationship with Sherfield. You know, it's funny that he gets a lot of advice about being a receiver and about running the extra routes and about catching balls early in the morning before practice and being the example. But also, it's like a 2-man book club. Matthews recommends books to the young receiver.
And no surprise at Vanderbilt, a rather studious institution. Webb to the field side. He's down after a little more than 2. Keith Brown, the tackle. Here's a look at what each possession netted in the first. Not a lot of yards there.
Well, that's just a 12-play, 76-yard drive. That's the model. That they need at least 2, maybe 3 of those here in the second half. Eats up a lot of clock, gets Webb his extra carries, and keeps that offense of Western Kentucky off the field. When they're on the field, gives them maybe a little bit more sense of urgency than they need.
Webb's 16th carry of the game made the first man miss. Shaking and making. Webb with some open room down to the red zone. Laverick Johnson ultimately trips him up inside of the 20.
Well, that wasn't a first down run, but look at the hole that opens up and the beautiful job that they do on that right side for the Commodores. You got Gouger at center, but Reagan and Scully doing a really nice job on that right side, opening those huge holes.
He got 38 on that carry. He had 37 net in the first half. Wonder where the ball might go.
Second half prescription. More Ralph.
And Webb wrecked by the defensive front. Chris Johnson just bushed his way through a block. Barrett Gouger has some words for him thereafter.
Just go back to the huddle. Keep your composure about you if you're Vanderbilt. Don't be goaded into something dumb.
And Ralph Webb now in 3rd on the all-time rushing list. Now chasing down Frank Mordica. He's out. Hari Blasingame has entered at running back. Shermer been making some plays with his feet. TJ McCollum towards the thread at around the 16.
Well, he might have had himself a little tight end action. Little two-deep defense. Both safeties almost standing on the goal line. He had one of his tight ends around the 7-yard line. He could have hit him for a pretty good pass. But it keeps that play coming, it keeps the drive going, and it keeps the clock moving.
3rd and 6. What a hit delivered on C.J. Duncan, but he gets the first down as Leston submarined him at the 5-yard line.
These are the kind of catches, it's kind of like driving on a toll road. It's just the cost of doing business. If you're a receiver in the red zone and your quarterback puts the ball in that spot, that's the cost of making that catch.
Get your receipt for that one.
Oh yeah, it'll be a mark that'll last about 2 weeks probably. That'll be his receipt.
Ralph Webb is back. Multiple tight ends on 1st and goal from the 5. Webb tries to get low, but Western Kentucky a tad lower, holds him to a couple.
Well, you're starting on about the 5.5-yard line or so. You run it down to the 2.5-yard line. That's a successful play. It's 2nd down. I mean, this is what they do, and they do it well. 2 tight ends and a fullback.
They've gotten points in the red zone every possession this year, including the touchdown today. A loaded box. Webb finds a seam. Webb stumbling in for a touchdown. A flag is down. Webb has his 2nd of the day, but Laundry litters the right side of the field.
Was that tight end or the H-back motioning back and forth
Offside.
and trying to get settled?
Defense, number 11. That penalty is declined. Touchdown.
There you go. Was not motion. There you go. Touchdown. That's exactly what they need. 1 down, 2 to go.
3rd career multiple rushing touchdown game for Webb. Tanner Reeves whistled for the penalty. Tommy Openshaw the point after, which is not automatic. Remember, he missed a chip shot field goal with a bad snap in last year's meeting. There was a high snap on the first extra point today. This one clean. And his kick ties it up. On a day, Randy, where it feels like Vanderbilt had been dominated by Western Kentucky, here are the Commodores tied up thanks to Ralph Webb.
Hey, Christopher Walken, he needed more cowbell. Vanderbilt, they need more Ralphie.
Chance to run it back. 3rd-ranked Louisville has the college football world abuzz, and after his 5-touchdown show, quarterback Lamar Jackson has emerged as the Heisman frontrunner. Don't miss his next performance. Cardinals pay a visit to Marshall, coming up next right here on CBS Sports Network. Here's a look at the Louisville connection. 4 transfers have made their way to Western Kentucky. No surprise with Jeff Brom, the head coach, a self-professed Louisville man, the former quarterback there, who, by the way, when he decided to follow Bobby Petrino here to Western Kentucky, he took a pay cut. Mike White is back at quarterback and completes on 1st down as they get about 8. He left UAB for less money because he wanted to pick Petrino's brain on being a head coach. He called him a detailed technician, a master at developing players, and that led to the head coaching job here at Western Kentucky when Petrino returned to Louisville.
Well, think what you will about Bobby Petrino, the man. As a coach, unbelievable attention to detail.
Anthony Wales pinballs his way for a 1st. Wales on the grind. Hilltoppers were down some bodies at running back. Leon Allen, who was granted a 5th year, still rehabbing a left knee that they thought would be ready in advance of the season. DeAndre Furby injured his shoulder on the 1st carry of the 1st game this season. Hasn't played or dressed since. And the trickeration knocked down. Hilltoppers lose yardage, but they maintain the ball.
Boy, that was an amazing play, breaking that thing up. Charles Wright. That should never have been handed off the 2nd time. Man.
That was the senior Adam Butler, who started 8 games a year ago. Able to knock it free, listed at 6'4", 295.
At least that.
And might be underselling. 2nd and 18, they get a lot of it back. A wicked stiff arm, and then a judo move tackle. Torn to McGaster. whipping down Taywan Taylor. But here is a third down and reasonable from 2nd and 18.
Yeah, it is from 2nd and forever. Your goal is to just get a chunk back. And after the catch, Taylor gets an extra 6 yards from the time he catches the ball. That's mission accomplished for Western Kentucky.
On third down, White completes. McGaster another tackle, but that's good for the first. Taywan Taylor gets another grab. The man who has rewritten the record books here on the Hill. Owns the records for catches, yards, and touchdowns. And he's coming off the best season by a wideout in program history. Jeff Brom knows the weaponry that he has in Taylor.
And he's got a little rhythm going right here.
Anthony Wales on the misdirection. What a hole! Hurdles the first would-be hitter in Ladarius Wiley. He has the first to the 28.
Now it's incumbent upon Western Kentucky. Do not help. Do not assist Vanderbilt. Keep this drive going. Keep getting yards and chunks. And there's a reason that Jeff Brom's got such a great record here against teams with losing records. He's 6-0 against facing teams since he's been head coach against teams with losing records.
Off the play fake, White looking a little longer, tried to thread the needle. Ball was knocked in the air by Torian Ferguson, who comes up slamming his own helmet. Might have had visions of stepping in front. And they have won 11 straight here at Western Kentucky. 5th longest active win streak in America. 12-1 at home under Jeff Brom.
Yep. Overall, he's 9-1 against teams that don't have winning records. That's road and away, or road and home.
Screen game. Fast. They can get him involved in a variety of ways. He earns about the 19. He looks to be a yard short, thanks to strong safety Ryan White.
Just a little short. And remember what we've seen earlier. This is a team that does not shy away from going for it on 4th down. Not the world's biggest confidence in their kicker. They'd rather put the confidence in their offense.
So that means you're probably looking at a couple of plays here. Some muscle on the line and in the backfield. Off a play fake. White batted down. Incomplete pass. What a job by Dari Odeyingbo swatting away the pass.
Yeah, Odeyingbo gets in there. Get those hands up. I like the play call. Play action. The problem is there's nobody to throw it to. When White gets back there is nobody. He might have been able to back shoulder his receiver, but that's the closest thing to a completion he'd have gotten. Nice defense by Vandy. Now the question I've got is, do they attack? Do they bring the blitz to put some heat on the quarterback?
Wales the deep back. They've converted once today, and they sweep it for the first. That play has been there since the game started, and that's a first down trot to the 11. Jakari Thomas, the tackle.
Well, now, if we line them up in a race, do you think Norris or whoever they have at that position is faster than anybody in the front 7? I don't think there's a doubt in the world. And so far, in that foot race, Vanderbilt's been behind every time they've run that.
And Jeff Brom told us this week that we would possibly see wide receivers at true running back. We haven't seen that today, but we have seen the sweep game. As White, feeling the pressure, flicked it away with Oren Burks on his heels and dragging him down.
Well, good luck convincing Mason, the head coach of Vanderbilt, who calls all the defensive plays, that those slots making those carries, especially Norris, don't count as running backs.
Taywan Taylor screaming, "I'm open."
Yeah, he's a receiver. They're always open. The receivers are always open. Linemen never held. And quarterbacks always get the goal.
Pressure comes. Shovel pass. Highly ill-advised. Called incomplete.
That should have been just thrown at the feet of his receiver, of his running back.
Adam Butler just broke into a tackle.
That's the second time Butler's been in the backfield doing some business. You said 295, huh? Well, White's not that slimming a color.
It shows.
When they're in all black, I think he looks 295. It's in that all white, he looks a little big.
2 of 7 on third down of the Hilltoppers. That has a slimming effect. A tip ball picked off, and Vandy denies Western Kentucky, forcing another turnover, the third of the day by the host Hilltoppers. A flag out late.
Wow, third turnover. I mentioned that during the beginning of this half, that's what really made the last game close. Ball gets tipped.
The ruling on the field is an interception after the play, unsportsmanlike, number 31. Half the distance to the goal. It'll be first down Vanderbilt. That's number 31's first unsportsmanlike conduct of the game.
Trey Herndon getting called for that unsportsmanlike penalty. It looked like the hands and the arms were underneath that ball on that tip. So 14-14, and
the previous play is under further review.
Derek Mason definitely likes this score at 14-14. His team is 6-2 when the other guy scores 20 or less points. So it's all about holding them under 20 for the Commodores.
As they take a look under the hood, we'll take a short break, tied at 14. Tied at 14, ruling on the field, a tipped ball interception. It's gone to review.
After review, the ruling on the field stands, Vanderbilt ball. After the play, unsportsmanlike conduct number 31 will be enforced half the distance to the goal. It's first down, Vanderbilt.
So Adam Butler got the tip, and number 31 on the right of your screen, Trey Herndon.
Herndon gets his arms underneath that one pretty successfully. Dare Odeyingbo looked like he was the one that got his hand on that.
I think so. Yeah, it was not Butler. It was Odeyingbo.
Well, here you go, Western Kentucky. You've got 3 turnovers. Pretty easy for Vanderbilt. They've got to either quarterback sneak or just give it to Ralph inside.
Blasingame at running back. He bowls his way to the 7 as we check in with our boys in New York City on the Volunteers and the Gators.
Over on CBS, John, the tide has completely turned in Knoxville. The Vols with 31 unanswered to take a 31-21 lead, and they're inside the 5 on Florida as we speak, guys.
Well, thank you, Brent. 11 straight losses in the series. Now the giant gouge of points as Neyland is rocking. Certainly not something that Commodore fans will find all that amusing or appealing. Drell Green, the vicious hit.
I mean, Tennessee finally, it would appear, playing like Tennessee. They didn't come into the season seeming to be the 101st best offense in the league, in the country, I mean.
Volunteer team that's had a tough time. Vandy has excelled on third down after a rough start with a lot of third and longs.
Third and short here.
And it's Blasingame at the back. Blasingame the carry, stood up, denied! Western Kentucky with Keith Brown, the linebacker, bringing the hard contact against Blasingame at fourth down.
What kind of a tackle was that by Brown? How perfect is it? He attacks the blocker. He attacks, runs right through, wraps up the running back, denies the first down. That is textbook, and Brown should be proud of it.
That's the 11th tackle for loss on the game by the Hilltoppers. And a lot of it has come from Brown.
Now the return becomes a huge weapon.
Nearly blocked. A terrible wobbling kick. What a stop by Western Kentucky. The defense does part of it. The special teams piles on. And Drell Green could celebrate.
Well, Jeff Brom and company had to spend some time on that sideline talking to his offensive guys, saying, hey, look, our defense is going to stop them here. I've had enough of this helping out Vanderbilt. Finish a drive. Flashy plays mean nothing. Finish a drive with points.
Prime field position. The ball spotted at the 16. The Hilltoppers in the red zone when we come back. Now let's check in with our Chick-fil-A fan cam to see the fans' reactions here on the Hill in Bowling Green, Kentucky. reason to celebrate after a 6-yard punt that was partially blocked. Darrell Green got his hands on the kick. And Western Kentucky fans that have come out in droves, they were anticipating possibly the biggest crowd ever to come here to the Hill. They're witnessing a possession starting in the red zone. Mike White again at quarterback. Hilltoppers keep it on the ground. And they have found a solid 4 to 6 yards, it seems, with almost every touch. Torrin McGaster, the cornerback, taking down Anthony Wales.
Well, if you're a Western Kentucky fan, you love the run. You love White's accuracy. But hold on to the damn ball. Jeff Brom's offensive team has given the ball up way too much in this game. They've dominated statistically, but not on the scoreboard.
And the pistol, Wales, decent-sized hole, runs into Zach Cunningham, the inside backer. The push to around the 7-yard line. That's close to the first. Looks to be a little short.
You look at this offense, the way they spread out the defense of Vanderbilt. They've got a natural inclination by formation that Brom puts them in, that they can run the ball effectively.
They brought in Ben Holt, the linebacker, who ran scout team fullback as an extra blocker. On 3rd and 1, Wales behind Holt, the head down, and it looks like he is down short, right about line of scrimmage.
He had to basically chop his steps and dive from about a yard behind the line of scrimmage.
So reluctantly, the kick unit sent out onto the field. It's Ryan Nuss, who's 4 of 5 on field goals this year. He's converted from as long as 31.
Just as a field goal, though, for Vanderbilt, this is a win. Holding them to only 3 points is a win for Vanderbilt after that bad punt / block.
25-yard try. The kick on the way, and Nuss, no good. Misses from 25, a possession that started at the 16, nets no points for Western Kentucky.
Well, that's a huge win for Coach Derek Mason and his Vanderbilt Commodores, still all tied at 14.
Welcome on back. Here are today's Geico difference makers as Vandy locks horns with Western Kentucky. Ralph Webb, a couple of touchdowns today on the ground. He's got that yard per carry number up. Hovered just barely above 3 in the first. Big part of Vandy's offense, pretty much the offense, while Anthony Wales with a bum hammy was questionable today, and he's grinding it out.
As long as it stays a slugfest, a standing toe-to-toe, trading shots, seeing how many mistakes Western Kentucky can make, Vanderbilt's got a chance to win this game.
Play fake, Shermer loading up. Shermer finds Darius Sims, who finds space. Knocked out at around the 35. Kalija Lipscomb knocked down by Brandon Leston. The big play to the true freshman wideout out of New Orleans.
That's got the same amount of yards to it. They might have only thrown that ball about 10 yards down the field, but when you look at the play sheet, that's going to look like a bomb. Nice job getting that ball down the field, breaking that first tackle, and then splitting the defenders. Now you got to look for more of the running back.
Webb gets a push for a couple.
Well, at the break, Webb had 12 carries. That was his 20th, so he had 8. I said he had to have 15 in the second half. He's more than halfway there. Just keep it up. Stay methodical. If you get the big play, great. Otherwise, nothing wrong with 3 yards, 4 yards, 4 yards. That's a first down.
And these are the final seconds of the quarter. Much like the end of the second quarter, Vandy lets the time fall off the clock, and we shoot to the fourth. Deadlocked at 14. Vandy at Western Kentucky. Tied at 14. The towels twirl as we embark on the fourth quarter. Vanderbilt at Western Kentucky. Football season underway. Pennant races in full swing. The perfect time for some of the most intelligent women in sports to sound off. We Need to Talk, Tuesday night, 8 Eastern on CBS Sports Network, the 24-hour home of CBS Sports. Well, a few notes to update you on. The crowd today, the biggest in Western Kentucky history, just announced at 23,672. Also, linebacker T.J. McCollum, who's had a big day for the Hilltoppers, seen clutching at his right shoulder by our own Taylor Rooks down on the sidelines. Ralph Webb, clutched out by Chris Johnson, thrusts him down at around the 34, gain of a yard.
There's a little turnaround in fair play. We've seen, for Vanderbilt, they've spent a lot of time in the backfield, especially Adam Butler of Western Kentucky. There's Western Kentucky returning the favor and getting a runoff before they can even get going.
3rd down and 9, tied at 14.
Defense has to play. Go sick 'em. Go after the quarterback. Make him hurry.
Shermer, a long look. Sails and out of bounds. Trent Sherfield makes a grab that doesn't count.
It was a nice job up front by Chris Johnson and Omarius Bryant getting after Shermer, well out of bounds. That's Canadian wide. They have a wider field, by the way, and longer.
And end zones as well.
Yes. That would be the longer part. Wider.
Sam Lloyd into punt. It almost feels like Vandy could use starting the receivers with some of the air game. Macarius Fant lets it drop down. Vandy tries to touch, but it's into the end zone for a touchback. Infancy of the 4th, tied at 14. A short timeout. Big Red hanging out with the fans. We're tied at 14. Taywan Taylor has a game-high 6 grabs. And for more on Taylor, let's check in with Taylor. Taylor Rooks.
Yeah, I mean, he's having a fairly good game, but when he was on the sidelines, he was telling his teammates about some open looks that he wished he would have got. Sometimes he wished he was able to get more open, but he said that they still have time. He said, guys, we got this. We're going to get some more points on the board.
And on cue, there is Taywan Taylor for the big play, with Ladarius Wiley in coverage, and the crowd erupts.
Nice pass by Mike White, putting it right in the perfect spot. Good composure by Taylor, getting that foot in for the catch.
Will Ferrell would be proud. After 19 in the air, they go to the ground for Anthony Wales. Adam Butler, the stop. He's made more and more plays up front. It's a game high now, 7 grabs for 81 yards. We have seen Taylor, Randy, at times hopping up and down in frustration with himself or the moment when he's been open.
Yeah, he needs more composure. You can tell your quarterback that you're open without kind of showing him up in the middle of a game.
2nd down, White looks to Fant, and Fant dances out of play into Vandy territory. Trey Herndon was in coverage. Instantaneously, Western Kentucky can spark.
Fant and Norris are one missed tackle away from a touchdown. But Western Kentucky, we've seen this before. Big yards, great. Can they finish? Finish the play, finish the drive.
Off the play fake. White zips it out to a wide open Taylor. First contact, not enough from Torrin McGaster, and an extra couple lunging forward, ball in hand.
How about these last 2 plays? Both times to the field side. Both times Mike White has driven a pass to his wide receiver who's wide open. Vandy's giving him a lot of pad, especially on the field side. And if you look up to the top receiver, you've got almost 10 yards in here. See that area?
False start. Offense. Number 2. 5-yard penalty. 1st down.
Taywan Taylor a little too amped up.
Hey, I'm just talking about this. Missed field goal, interception, punt. I mean, they're stopping themselves. It hasn't really been Vanderbilt. Vanderbilt has played some pretty efficient defense, but Western Kentucky has rarely finished a drive.
What a setup for the screen game. They get back a few from the penalty. We haven't seen Nicholas Norris a ton, escorted out of play by Trey Herndon.
Yeah, don't let anyone ever tell you it's not important if you're 6'4", 6'5" as a quarterback. Brian White's any shorter. I'm not sure he could throw that ball over the top of the rush and still have enough zip on it to get it to his receiver.
2nd down and 6. A bigger look from the Hilltoppers. Off a slight fake. Incomplete, ruled immediately. Oren Burks brought some of the pressure, might have gotten a hand on that one. It just feels like Mike White at times has some happy feet.
Well, I don't know if they're happy feet, but he knows that rush is coming. He's trying to step up, but he's almost stepping up like he expects there to be a lineman blocking one of those two guys that's coming at him. He can be affected. I'm sure Mason's taking note. The head coach for Vandy calling these blitzes, calling these defenses. Got to dial up more heat on this quarterback. Give him a chance to throw one to your guys.
On 3rd down, only 2 of 9 on 3rd down today. Tried to force it to Fance. Flag is out late. Trey Herndon was in coverage.
It's right there at the point of the break. Receiver drove Coach Mason's cornerback off and then came back to the ball. It was right at that break, driving back, that flag was thrown.
Holding defense number 31. The 10-yard penalty from the previous spot. Automatic 1st down.
Trey Herndon, we've already seen him get one personal foul. So he's not in a position where he can yap at the officials and complain much. He gets that 2nd one, he's out. You get him for holding.
He's one of the veterans. He's one of 2 that started all 12 games on defense last year, along with Oren Burks. 1st and 10 to the 20. Play fake, tip ball again. Incomplete. Landon Stokes at 6'4", 240. Got his big paw up there.
Yeah, that's just beautiful job by this Vanderbilt defense, and that's being well trained. That's being well coached. Got to give credit where credit is due. Their D-line coach is C.J. Ayu. And he's got his guys. If they can't get there, they're making it hard for the quarterback to get it through their arms.
Wells with a giant dash up the gut. Wells plunges into the end zone. A go-ahead touchdown.
Yeah, I mentioned that Vanderbilt was 6-2 under Derek Mason when they hold their opponents to 20 or less. They're 2-15 when they score more than 20 points against Vanderbilt.
Skylar Simcox the point after that could be the tipping point if those numbers come to bear today. And the point after is good. The math is not for Vanderbilt based on past successes and failures.
Well, you finally finished a drive if you're Western Kentucky. Just think back. There's a lot of balls on the ground, balls being picked, balls punted. They finally finished one.
Wales finishes for a 2nd score of the day. The Hilltoppers back on top.
College football on CBS Sports Network is sponsored by Chick-fil-A. We didn't invent the chicken, just the chicken sandwich. By Vistaprint, everything to market your business. And by great tasting 5-Hour Energy.
Welcome on back to the Hill. 21-14. Western Kentucky back on top. A 2nd score by Anthony Wales. Playing on a bum leg, a 20-yard touchdown, his 2nd score on the day. It's 21-14, Hilltopper advantage.
35 points in this game so far. That might be at halftime for both teams in the next one.
Darius Sims out of the end zone. Sims down shy of the 20. Let's go to New York City and visit Brent Stover.
John Lamar Jackson tied for the nation's lead in total touchdowns with 18. He leads number 3 Louisville into Huntington, West Virginia, to take on Marshall, 8 Eastern, here on CBS Sports Network. In the meantime, back out to you guys.
Well, thank you, Brent. And many ties between Louisville and Western Kentucky as Vandy's offense takes the field down a score. It'll be trivia time in just a bit. Vandy's average starting field position has been its own 25. Here from the 19, Webb, who has 2 scores himself, navigates to about the 23 and gets around 4. All right, puzzle time.
All right.
Louisville, number 3 twice in school history. Lamar Jackson, the start tonight. Who was the starting quarterback the first time Louisville was ranked number 3?
Now, would you be asking this question because there might be a connection to this game?
There very well could be. He might be here today. We'll revisit that in a moment. Webb, the deep man. Second down, nothing. Tackles for loss piling up. They've broken a dozen today. Now it's Derek Overstreet who gets in on the party.
Well, Overstreet just adding that whole idea. Would have blitzed the run on the way to the quarterback on the pass. Overstreet coming from that outside position just crashes Webb. I mean, there was a nice hole sitting there for him to run through. But Overstreet would never let him get to it.
Plus 10 in tackles for loss. The bunch formation on the far side. 3rd and 9.
Rush 3, drop 8.
They bring 4. Shermer trying to tuck and run on 3rd and 9. Helped with a shove out of bounds. He's short. So let's go back to the question. Do you have an answer, sir?
Yeah. I mean, Jeff Brom was not the quarterback of that game, but I'm pretty sure his brother was.
Ding, ding. Brian Brom. That was a loss at Rutgers that helped put Greg Schiano on the map. But Jeff was the quarterback coach for that Bobby Petrino head coach team that lost just that one game all year. Went on to beat Wake Forest in the Orange Bowl and ended the year ranked number 5 in the country. The kick to number 1, the Kari Spence. Let's take a Vanderbilt bound. And it rolls all the way inside of the 20. A touchdown advantage for Western Kentucky as we flash back to the days of touchdown for the brothers Louisville, Jeff and Brian Brom.
Little did they know they were going to lose that game.
Today they're coaching together, trying to beat a team out of the SEC. It's time now for the Serve Pro play of the game as number 20 rumbles for 20. Anthony Wales gets airborne, his second score of the day, put Western Kentucky back on top and brought us to our current margin. Hilltoppers by a touchdown with the ball. A drive starting at the Western Kentucky 20-yard line. White, a big shot, too long for Taywan Taylor. He had blazed past Torrin McGaster.
I don't care if you're Jeff Brom, you're Brian Brom, you're Brady Brom, you're Mama Brom. You left a touchdown on the field here. You've got all that separation. That's a touchdown waiting to happen, but you overthrow it. And there wasn't that much pressure on Mike White.
From under center, a relative rarity on 2nd and 10. Screen game to Fant. Well timed. He's down just about immediately thanks to Torrin McGaster.
A nice tackle by McGaster. Just forcing up real quick. You don't have to form tackle him. He doesn't have his legs. He ain't running.
And Jeff Brom told us that with the loss to Forrest Lamp, while he's a great tackle at that left spot, the screen game is what would be hurt the most by his absence. 3rd and 10, big blitz shown.
And recognized and checked up on by Mike White. Blitz now at your peril.
They go softer. Western Kentucky goes to the ground. and will not get the first. To the 28, Ladarius Wiley with that final hit. 8.5 minutes here in the fourth, Randy. That's a ton of time in a one-score game.
Well, it is. If you're Western Kentucky, you've got to keep this sort of rhythm going offensively. You're going to punt here, but you need to get Vanderbilt back off the field and give yourself another shot. You know you left a touchdown out there on that first down play. How big would a big punt return be here for Vanderbilt if you get a low kick?
Jake Collins has averaged nearly 40 per punt. Fair caught by Ryan White. Neutralized with the ball spotted at the 24. The 21-14 difference. The third-ranked Louisville Cardinal has the college football world on fire. Lamar Action Jackson, 608 yards passing, 464 rushing, 18 total touchdowns. Takes his wares on the road to Marshall. That's where we head next, presented by Geico. Louisville at Marshall. Marshall AD Mike Hamrick, who played football for the Thundering Herd in the 70s, said, "I'm not sure we've ever had a bigger game."
They haven't had a bigger talent in that building before, I'll tell you that, and they've had some good quarterbacks.
Kyle Shermer sidestepping the pressure. Long look pass. Vandy in dire need of a big play. Gets it and then some. Caleb Scott, the junior out of Swanee, Georgia, in the greater Atlanta metro, a Vandy legend. His dad, Chuck, a former All-America at Vanderbilt, and that is a big-time play.
Kyle Shermer gets 3 steps, 3 scooches, and a javelin throw down the field.
That's their first.
And luckily for them, that DB falls down. That sets up a huge play. Now you've got a great situation for Ralph Webb.
66 yards. There was a sideline warning issued to Vanderbilt. First and goal from the 10. This is where Vandy had trouble in last year's matchup. Ralph Webb with 2 scores today. Flag out. He earns a hard half yard.
That's a little hold on the outside.
Laverick Johnson was part of the contact that popped Webb. There's a Commodore slow to get up.
Holding. Offense. Number 80. 10-yard penalty. Remains first down.
Goes on the tight end, the redshirt freshman Jared Pinkney. It was Kalijah Lipscomb that was slow to his feet.
I believe, if I'm not mistaken, that's the second time on that outside. And look at Pinkney. You see a guy trying to get away and get outside, and his number starts on his back. Look at the grip he's got on that guy. I'm sorry, I shouldn't sound so excited, but as an offensive lineman, it looked like good technique. Unfortunately, he was right in front of the side judge.
Vanderbilt perfect in the red zone on the year. But after the game's 5th penalty, means first and goal from the 20. Shermer slides down as he earns back about 6 yards.
You know, I would not be surprised if they don't get a first down here. In case you're thinking about a 4th down, go for it. I wouldn't be surprised if Mason kicks a field goal on 4th down and kicks off to Louisville. Louisville's not a grinded out team. They can get the ball back. They'll see it again. There's nothing wrong with kicking the field goal and taking the points.
Each team with 3 timeouts. Shermer thinking end zone, incomplete. So 3rd down and goal from the 14. A Vandy team that has had points in every red zone possession this year. 2 today have netted touchdowns. Only twice have they settled for field goals in this spot.
Well, they're going to go for the touchdown here. Along the lines of what I was thinking, you know, if they don't get it here, they still may see the ball again.
3rd and goal. Shermer. Open target. C.J. Duncan down at the 4. Keith Brown gave him the hit. And what happens from the sideline? It looks like Tommy Openshaw, the kicker, trots on.
Yep, you go ahead and you do it. Look at that clock. 5:57, 5:50. By the time you kick it, there's probably about 5.5 minutes left in this quarter, in this football game. I like this. Put those points up there and tell your defense, we need the ball back. We got to get it back for Sherman.
22-yard try. His career-long 49. That was in last year's meeting. Bit of a high snap. The right-footed kick is good. So Openshaw converts on the field goal. A 21-17 margin. Each team with 3 timeouts. 5:29 to go. So now the call is for head coach / defensive coordinator Derek Mason's defense to stand tall against an explosive Western Kentucky team that has multiple times today shot itself in the foot. You know, Randy, you talked about it at the break. This is a Hilltopper team that should probably be up 2-3 scores right now.
And they turned the ball over early in the first half to give them 3 turnovers in this football game. And that turnover for Jeff Braun's team was on about the 5 to 3 yard line. Yeah, I mean, if you're Mason, that last possession, you blitz Brom's offense like crazy. I think you keep dialing up the pressure. You'd risk playing man against these fast slot and outside receivers. And if you leave anybody singled up, you leave Taylor singled up. You don't single up Norris or Fan.
Kylan Towner, the outstanding kick returner, entered today averaging 40 per kick, 3rd in the country. But Vandy has kicked touchbacks or the ball out of bounds. Hasn't had much chance to make plays in the kick game. Towner, the bent knee, midway deep. Let's take a look at some of the headlines around college football today. Georgia rolled by the Rebels. Ole Miss for real despite the setbacks against outstanding competition.
Ole Miss decided to play 4 quarters just to show you how good they could be if they did.
It's a lot of points for Florida State to allow to USF.
Yeah, they scored 55 though. That's the point. And the Badgers, how about what they did to Sparty? I mean, that was impressive. That defense, I think, was directly responsible for at least 17 of those 30 points.
And the former Wisconsin offensive coordinator, Andy Ludwig, hoping he'll have a chance to direct his O. He's the OC for Vanderbilt. Jeff Brom calls the plays for Western Kentucky. He calls for Anthony Wales. First down run.
Yeah, we didn't mention it on that graphic, but how about Tennessee beating Florida? They'd lost 11 straight. That's a gigantic whatever to peel off your back if you're the Volunteers.
Roared with more than 30 unanswered points at Neyland. Notre Dame, a shocking setback to the Duke Blue Devils today. Topsy-turvy day in college football. After last week, Conference USA just 1-14 against the SEC, but here are the defending champion Hilltoppers poised for a 2nd straight win over Vanderbilt. Wales has broken 100 yards as he breaks off the goal. Anthony Wales spinning off contact. To the 35, Trey Herndon, the tackle.
Yeah, keep it moving. Get on the ball here. But you have to tell your team, we're not in a big hurry. I'm going to identify. We're going to run a play. If we have the numbers, I'll snap it early. Otherwise, we're going to suck as much of the time as we can off this clock. See, nice job by Western Kentucky of getting on the ball, making Vandy declare, and then taking their time.
Taylor is matched up one-on-one with a DB giving him space in the McGaster bottom of the screen. But they go back to Wales, who gets another first down. Anthony Wales over 150 yards. Ryan White tripped him up at the 20.
How about that inside blocking by Ray and Halpin and Edwards and the job they're doing inside? Look at that. Get your guy, turn him. I don't know if this is how Anthony Wales runs with a bad hamstring. I think he needs 2.
He has brought it in a big way. The fifth-year senior who hails from Louisville, Kentucky, attended the same high school as Muhammad Ali. Not the same years. On 1st and 10. Singing like a bee.
Well, I'll tell you what, if you like exciting offense, and we've seen Western Kentucky with lots of offense today. They finished their 2 drives ago, they finished it off with points. Can they finish this one off with points and add to it? But if you like offense, stay tuned for After Us, because you're going to be nuts about Lamar Jackson and Louisville playing against Marshall, because Marshall can put up some points too.
Got blown out by Akron last week in a game that might have been a look-ahead spot to the nation's number 3. Play clock at 7. 2nd and 5, back to Wales. Swarm takes him down at the 12. Jonathan Wynn part of the pile. Under 3 minutes, 3 timeouts aside here. Do you consider timeout use?
I think if they stop him on this next one, they're going to call timeout. They'll be right at about 2 minutes.
Tight end Shaquille Johnson behind the line of scrimmage as an extra blocker.
I don't want to jinx anybody, but remember, Western Kentucky's already missed one chip shot field goal in this game. So a field goal is not a given.
Wales runs over a defender at the 10. This will depend upon the spot. This is awfully close. Jakari Thomas was the backer, first down. No need for the chains. The biggest crowd in Western Kentucky history.
They're first.
Just short of 24,000, and Vandy calls the timeout here with 2:04 to go. We'll take it with them. A 21-17 game. Vandy in defensive huddle. 21-17 Western Kentucky, but it's 3rd and goal from the 10 and a Hilltopper team that has not had a consistent kick game this year.
If you're Jeff Brom and you had your offense on the sideline with your quarterback Mike White, you look Mike White right in the eyes and you say, if it's not there, throw it away. Throw it to the 3rd person up the hill in the end zone.
The sweep it to Taywan Taylor. He's hit by Trey Herndon. Gets to around the 7. Now Vanderbilt out of timeouts. 1:41 and winding. Remember that Ryan Nuss at the 1:20 mark, 3rd quarter, missed a 25-yard field goal. And with the ball spotted at the 8, you're looking at about the exact same type of kick.
And don't be fooled if you don't think that goes into the consideration by Jeff Brom and company. You've already missed one from that close. Now you're on the exact opposite side of the field from almost the exact location on the field.
Most stand and watch. Play clock all the way down.
Timeout. Western Kentucky, they're first.
So Western Kentucky calls timeout. Still 2 left. What to watch for, Randy? You said at the start of the game to look for the running back, Ralph Webb, for Vandy.
And they've done a nice job feeding him the ball. It's not Ralph Webb's fault. You know, the offensive line just didn't get him enough non-first down big runs. He has a few big ones. And I tell you, Western Kentucky, they have blitzed Shermer. They've blitzed the run. Look at that, 12 tackles for loss here in this game. That's an aggressive defense by Coach Nick Holt and company.
Do you have some lottery numbers you could slip my way? It's number 37, Ryan Nuss. Remember, Vanderbilt out of timeouts. Nuss has missed from 25. He's hit from as long as 31 on the year. He's 4 of 6 on the season. The former kickoff specialist for Jeff Brom. Lead in hand, trying to make it a touchdown. And his kick is good. Not the prettiest, but 3 points nonetheless. And it's a touchdown advantage.
If that's a 26-yard field goal, it's a doink on the right upright, but it just does shade inside that right upright, make it a 7-point advantage.
Let's go back to New York City and Brent Stover.
We are moments away from number 3 Louisville taking on Marshall. Bobby Petrino has got the best winning percentage in school history, 61-18. He and his star quarterback Lamar Jackson at Marshall coming up in about 13 minutes, guys.
Well, thank you, Brent. The last time Louisville was number 3 in America, the Cardinals faced off against the Rutgers Scarlet Knights, and the quarterback coach back then was a guy named Jeff Brom, who was offered a chance to be the offensive coordinator for Nick Saban at Alabama. He decided to turn it down. He said, I was coaching my brother. It was so much fun. I thought this was a once-in-a-lifetime opportunity. He now coaches with his brother at Western Kentucky, and he admits in hindsight, and then maybe I should have taken that.
Yeah, this whole atmosphere, though, is very much a family affair. Kind of what it was like under Jack Harbaugh when he used to have his boys come back and coach with him. Jeff Brom has got a great feel about this program here at Western Kentucky.
He's built them into a group of 5 power, so much so that they got a 2-for-1 deal that has Vanderbilt out of the SEC coming here to Bowling Green, about a 60-mile trek away from Nashville.
And he's trying to get his team right here. If this holds up, he'll be 10-1 versus teams with losing records, and he'll be 7-0 here at home against teams with losing records.
Ralph Webb's great talents silence some with no timeouts and 1:02 to go. Webb becomes a blocker for Shermer. Gets it to Webb, immediately hit and dropped. Keith Brown, the linebacker.
Boy, how about Keith Brown? That's the second form tackle he's made. And I believe they were both on Webb. Just deep cleaners.
Second down. Shermer zips it. A tumbling catch to the air. And Vandy converts to Jared Pinckney nearly to midfield. Clock stops as they set the ball in the chains. It winds a yard shy of the 50. 4-man rush. What a hit somehow.
Out of bounds.
Lipscomb holds on, and he does just that. Out of play at the 40.
Boy, he's had a heads-up play by Lipscomb. You're basically running a curl route as an ex-receiver on the outside, curling in, and they don't make that tackle, and you just bolt to the sideline. Look at this play. He's almost to the hash mark. Just makes a beeline for the sideline. Smart play.
Hard shoulder, but not the tackle in some space of open field there.
They were looking for a form tackle there, that's for sure.
At the 39, a blitz comes. Shermer, one-on-one. Again! The long play for the Commodores down to Trent Sherfield.
Clock stops with 16 seconds left.
Shermer was motioning to Spike. He does just that. 13 seconds. A touchdown game. Remember that last year it was a denied 2-point conversion, the difference.
With 33 seconds to go in the game when they denied him that 2-point conversion.
Jeff Brom fired up. So what are you looking at here in terms of volume of play and play call?
Well, you mean out of the new Vanderbilt offense from the last couple of possessions, the aerial circus that is the Commodores? I got to think you're going either a little dump off after a fake handoff to Webb, or you're going back to the outside.
Shermer, end zone, incomplete. Looking for Jared Pinckney, the 6'4" tight end, 9 seconds.
That was a throwaway. Smart decision. Because White would have, he would have had to try to fit that in, and smart decision by Shermer. Derek Mason's quarterback. Third down.
In the Derek Mason era, Vanderbilt has one road win. That was against Middle Tennessee, October the 3rd of last year. That's when they rallied from down 10 and scored 2 touchdowns in the last 6 minutes. Now with 9 seconds, in urgent need of a score. Shermer One-on-one end zone, incomplete, flag out. Trent Sherfield was tugged.
That's pass interference. Remember, in the NFL, it's a whole lot different. It's going to go from the line of scrimmage, but it is an automatic first down. You get another play.
3 seconds.
Pass interference, defense, number 3. Ball's placed at the 2-yard line, automatic first down.
It's a defensive lineman, Chris Johnson. 3 seconds here, Randy.
Last play.
They've gotten points in 3 red zone trips tonight. They've gotten points in all red zone trips on the season after last year throwing 2 picks in the end zone and missing a field goal on possessions at the 10-yard line.
Well, you got to think, if it's not a slant quick route to the outside,
they're second.
It's something to an inside receiver or a tight end over the middle, a jump ball.
Let's flash back to the dramatic conclusion in the season opener a year ago. Western Kentucky a touchdown lead on the touchdown by Tyler Higbee, the outstanding tight end now with the Rams. And Johnny McCrary brought the Commodores within 33 seconds left. And the tight end Nathan Marcus gets stuffed by the undersized quarterback Joe Brown, the converted DB, former running back, on a 2-point conversion, a 14-12 final. The margin not as tight here, but the stakes extreme. A Vandy team that has not been denied points in the red zone all season. 3 seconds down to score. Vanderbilt to its sideline. Western Kentucky had to have a coach restrained on its sideline.
They've both been warned. I like it either out of the stack or out of the H-back. Timeout here for Western Kentucky. They want to make sure they got the right defense.
Their third. It's 30 seconds.
Well, let's take a look. The turbulent activity came from defensive coordinator Nick Holt.
That's him in the red shirt. The bald coach in the red shirt. Got the get-back coach. He's got an all-day sucker trying to keep his defensive coordinator back.
And he was much further out on the field before that shot. He's an emotional, fiery guy.
Is he intense at all, you think?
He knows a thing or two about success. He was a linebacker coach at USC en route to the national title in 2003.
Coached a long time with Pete Carroll.
This is a Western Kentucky team that turned over a lot in terms of coaching. One of 4 teams with 6 new position coaches on the year. Quarterback, O-line, tight end, wide receiver, running back, D-end, and safety. That includes Brian Ellis going from running back to wide receiver coach and staying on Jeff Fromm's staff.
Yeah, don't forget the situation here, considering where the ball is. If you see Vanderbilt come out with 2 tight ends and they shift into a spread, it puts a run back into the equation. It really does.
They sent out the fullback, Bailey McElwain, little used today.
3 tight ends. This is power football formation. Will they shift?
Shermer hands it off. Webb plunges for the end zone. He's in! Touchdown, Commodores! And now the great question. What do you do on the heels of a TD? One index finger raised by most coaches on the sideline.
Well, Jack Del Rio from the Oakland Raiders, he goes for 2 here. I think on the road in that formula, I believe that Coach Mason and company is going to go ahead, kick the extra point, and worry about overtime. Look at that leap. Looked like he jumped from about the 3.5-yard line. Good 10 feet or so in the air, getting that ball across.
Ralph Webb's 3rd touchdown of the game. And now all eyes focus on Tommy Openshaw. They're going to take another look at this scoring play with the clock showing zeros. No timeouts for either team as it stands. But overtime could be coming.
Now watch the ball. See, he leaps from the 3.5. Where's it come down? Can you tell? It's hard from that angle. Couldn't really tell from the end zone. This might be your best look. Where does it come down? Doesn't tell me anything. Remember, on the field it was called a touchdown. Is the ball, does it crease the goal line? One more time, look for the ball. Right in there. Nothing definitive. Have you seen anything yet that's definitive and tells you it wasn't a good call?
After review, the ruling on the field is confirmed. Touchdown.
So confirmation of touchdown. The third of the day for Webb, who's averaged a little more than 3 yards a carry, but those are 2 big yards. And now a huge extra point.
That last one was probably the best angle, because you saw the ball all the way down to the ground.
Openshaw perfect on extra points this year. The redshirt junior out of Jacksonville, Florida, whose lone missed kick was a 45-yard field goal against South Carolina.
Need a snap.
And his kick is good. We have overtime in Bowling Green, Kentucky. Deadlocked at 24, stunned silence from the biggest crowd to ever watch Western Kentucky play at home.
I guarantee you Openshaw's heart is in his throat. He yanked that thing a little bit. He tugged on it. That was not just right down the middle of the uprights.
And Western Kentucky, which got the win last year in nearly last-second fashion with the denial of the 2-point conversion, plays free football. Some of the rules for overtime: ball starts at the 25. You keep the ball until you score or fail to make a first down. Each team gets an equal number of possessions. Teams must try to go for 2 after a touchdown starting in the third overtime.
And both teams start with 1 timeout, correct?
Indeed. And that's where, Randy, already having traversed such length of field by virtue of the overtime rule, starting the ball at the 25, takes away some of the advantage of Western Kentucky's spread game that can get such chunks of yards.
It does, because the strength has not been the finishing part. The strength of that offense is going from the 20 to your 25. It has not been finishing the thing off.
The coin that we'll use, this is heads, this is tails. In overtime, you each get 1 timeout per overtime series. On the third overtime series, you must go for 2 in order to score points. Okay, this is the coin we'll use. What is your call? Heads is the call. And it's tails. You win the toss. You want to play defense first, correct? Which end would you like to play on? You want to go this direction here, okay? Thank you.
Big Forrest
Western
Lamb,
Kentucky won
the
the
captain,
toss.
offensive tackle out there with Davis.
Let's go downstairs to Taylor Rooks and get a feel for what's going on at the sidelines.
Yeah, after that touchdown, Western Kentucky was just deflated. You could even hear a guy yell, "We're giving up big plays." Just an aura of sadness around here. But no joke, the most upset person was Brady. I think that he was going to have a heart attack after that touchdown.
Well, thank you, Taylor. And Brady, the son of Western Kentucky head coach Jeff Brom.
See, remember that last look we looked at in replay where it was from the back and you saw the ball all the way to the ground? Is the ball down? Can't really tell if it came loose. It definitely bounced out, but remember that elbow just has to hit the ground. As soon as that elbow's on the ground or the ball creases the goal line, that imaginary plane, play's over. It's a touchdown.
For Western Kentucky, the first overtime game since the epic 67-66 Marshall double overtime game a couple of years ago. Marshall still coming your way against Louisville here tonight. What a completion. Jared Pinkney somehow kept his balance, and the tight end to the 11-yard line. Amazing body control, tackled by Brandon Leston.
Great observation by Taylor on the sideline, talking about the deflation of Western Kentucky. Where's that fire? Where's that form tackling? You don't see it there. Giving up chunks, and that's something that Vanderbilt wasn't able to do until the last couple possessions.
Fullback look with multiple tight ends. You've got to think Ralph Webb will get his touches at overtime. Webb build inside of the 5. A huge run for Webb. For those of you tuning in for the Louisville-Marshall game, you will be able to find that online at cbssports.com/live as soon as it kicks off. And, of course, we'll get you out there immediately after the conclusion of this game. Kickoff at 8:10 Eastern Time.
This game just has a different feel to it. I mean, all the momentum is on the side of the Vanderbilt Commodores. And this offense almost has their choice, run and pass.
They can get a first down without a touchdown. Webb pinballing his way to the plane.
He's short.
Just down half a yard shy, but that is a fresh set of downs now. First possession of overtime. Marius Bryant is slow to get up for Western Kentucky.
That elbow hits right at about the 2-foot line. The ball's immediately down. Right here, the elbow's down. That ball is short. But it's just barely short of the goal line. Got a Western Kentucky player down.
So Marius Bryant getting looked at by the athletic training staff.
Of the goal line, the previous play is under review.
They're going to take another look as Bryant gingerly comes to his feet.
Yeah, that last angle we just showed, by the time that elbow's on the ground, when they review that, I'm not sure if part of that ball wasn't over the goal line.
And they take another look. What do you see from Webb?
Now look at the elbow.
After review, the ruling on the field is confirmed.
There.
The runner was down at the half-yard line.
Ooh.
First down, Vanderbilt.
Tell you what, I don't know about the half-yard line. That elbow, is there a knee down? No, it's the elbow. That ball should be on about the 6-inch line, not the half-yard line. Well, did they take Air Webb here? It worked for the tying touchdown.
1 yard is nothing. Lots of big bodies. Haley McElwain, the true freshman fullback. Ball on the ground. Shermer falls upon it, and they lose yards. Every time you think you've got this game figured out.
Actually, it looks like he might have gotten his foot stomped on by the right guard. You know, I'm not completely sure if Bruno Reagan didn't step on his foot and just kind of distract him and cause him to drop that ball.
Vanderbilt's last overtime game came in 2011, a 27-21 loss to in-state rival Tennessee. Webb denied. The defense swarms. Loss of a yard to the 5.
Oh, that's a big deal. That really is these last 2 plays. You're taking away the bread and butter. How Vanderbilt really got here was the running of Webb, especially that power running last possession or 2. This puts them in a must-pass situation.
More receivers have entered. It was first and goal at the 1. Motion from Pinckney. Shermer. End zone. Touchdown, Vanderbilt. The tight end Nathan Marcus brings it in, and Kyle Shermer leads the Commodores to an overtime advantage.
Boy, that was a case of the Vanderbilt quarterback Shermer just stepping into it and throwing an absolute BB to his tight end. That thing is about 1.5 feet off the ground, and it's right at the navel. Bang. Nice pass.
And sweet redemption. Nathan Marcus was the man denied on the 2-point conversion in last year's Vandy loss to Western Kentucky. The point after is good for Tommy Openshaw. And all the pressure square on the host Hilltoppers, who have owned this game for the majority of the day. The nation's 5th longest home win streak is in peril, the 11-gamer.
And it really is in peril because the defense kind of stopped attacking. You know, and Vanderbilt was able to throw the ball effectively down the field and get yardage in great big chunks.
For those of you tuning in for the Louisville-Marshall game, you will be able to find that online, cbssports.com/live. As soon as it kicks off, of course, we'll get you out there immediately after the conclusion of this game. Kyle Shermer, 5 yards to the tight end Nathan Marcus, who was the GOAT last year. Could be the GOAT in a different way if they prevail today.
Shermer's been the difference in this second half, though.
They go empty. Mike White over the middle of the heart of the Vandy defense. Already first and goal inside of the 10, Taywan Taylor.
How about a little what's good for the goose is good for the gander. He gave up that big play in the middle early. You know, and Shermer with his 279 yards has got to stand on the sideline and feel a little nervous and fairly confident he's going to get the ball back, because Ryan White in this offense, I think they're clutch enough to get a touchdown in this situation.
Play fake, Mike White sidestepping. White throws. Zone! Fireworks fly, flag out. Touchdown rule. Shaquille Johnson, the tight end. So each side going to the big fellas. And Jeff Brom in the ear of Mike White. Are they going for 2 here?
You're at home. You've got the chance to do this. Go for 2.
On the field is a touchdown. The previous play is under review.
They're going to review this, but I like the fact they're going to be aggressive. They'll look at it again. Was the ball caught? Did it ever touch the ground once it was caught? That was all set up by White, buying the time. How about the ball? Concentrate on the ball. It wobbles. You don't really see it. Can you see it there? No. Can you see it there? It is in his arms. It is not on the ground. That was a catch.
It was a very late signal of touchdown. The fireworks were already going off before they signaled hands in the air.
After review, the ruling on the field is confirmed. Touchdown.
So a touchdown for the Hilltoppers. Shaquille Johnson, originally a linebacker who moved to tight end a couple of years ago, trying to take the mantle set by Jack Doyle, now with the Colts. Tyler Higbee now with the Rams. And Jeff Brom rolling the dice some here. He's going for the win against an SEC team.
Well, you're at home. You have confidence in your offense. They've just got you a touchdown. I like this. This tells your offensive players, this tells your whole team how much confidence you have in them.
Anthony Wales has had a big day, but the Hilltoppers butter their bread in the air. White. End zone. Ball free. Vanderbilt denies, picks up the free ball, and the Commodores get the win. The second road victory in the Derek Mason era. Our final score, 31-30 Vanderbilt. For Randy Cross, Taylor Rooks, and our entire CBS crew, I'm John Sadak. To Carter, Aaron, and Jenny in West